What's up, mi gente? It's your homegirl, Motuika. Welcome to Chicana Más Chingona, where I talk about my life, unscripted, unedited, just going with the flow. So in today's episode, I'm going to be rambling about a lot of stuff. Some stuff won't line up, but they're just memories I have of my life story. They're going to be all over the place, but this is like a little journal to keep. And I'm new to this too. It's hard to gather my thoughts and think how I want to put everything lined up, but I hope you enjoy. So today I want to share con ustedes about marriage and motherhood. Me and my husband been married 25 years. We have 2 kids together, a daughter that's 24 going on 25, and our son 20 going on 21. But before I get into that, I want to talk about a little before that, when I was young and a teenager, to get to that point. So con eso, I want to take it back to 11 and a half years old. This is probably mid-94. Around this time, this is when I started changing and developing, and this is when I consider teenager years. Now, around this time, my mom and dad T had just separated. My dad T goes to prison. My mom is on her own with all the kids. I think at this time my sister is a newborn, a couple months old. I think she'll barely be a year around that time. And those months prior to that was very difficult. We went through a very traumatic thing. It was very emotional. It was very hard. It was the first time that we ever had seen anything like that. And at that time that happened, we were living in Bell Gardens. Now, mid-94, we're living in Downey. My mom gets this apartment. And, my mom doesn't know this, but my mom suffered a lot, but she is a strong woman that didn't show it. She figured shit out. Sometimes I even told her not so long ago, like, I don't even know how fast you got apartments. Like, how did you do it? Like, we would go, and 2 weeks later, my mom had an apartment in our house already. She hustled. My mom always made sure that we had, no matter what she was going through. Because even though we were going through it as a family, my mom was really going through it as a woman. And so as the oldest, I seen, I heard, and I know a lot of things. I don't know things behind closed doors. I don't know things when I was not there, because I would go with my grandma here and there. But every time something happened, I would always sit there and look at my mom. I would just stare at her, like how brave she is, how strong she is, that what she just went through, what I just seen she went through, and she is just, trying to get us in a better situation. And I thank her for that. So around this time, I'm 11 and a half years old. I get my period. Now, my grandma and my mom come from a generation where you didn't talk about these things. My grandma didn't tell my mom these things, and my mom didn't tell me these things. And so it was taboo. I don't blame them, because that's just the world that that's the way the world was at that time. So when I got my period, I was scared. I screamed. I remember the restroom, the apartment we lived in, and my mom came and told me it'll be okay, and saying, oh, you're a woman now, and showing me what I have to do, how to take care of myself, how to keep clean, and all of that. Now, at this time, I start going through hormone changes. I start changing. I was playing Barbies. Now I don't want to play Barbies. Now I want to do other stuff. So I want to go out. I want to party. I want to explore the world. And I had 3 girls in my life that started teaching me things. I'm going to take it back to when I was like 9 or 10. We were living in Southgate. I forgot to mention in the cities that I grew up in, Southgate is one of them. We grew up in Southgate for a moment, and I got memories there as well. And so back in Southgate, when I was like 9 or 10, one of my cousins was married, and his girl had just got shot, and all the gang life and that shit. And she would come over and she would do my hair and paint my nails. And at the same time, even though I was that young, she was giving me consejos about the street life of what she went through, and for me not to get into that kind of life, and showing me the ropes, and if I did, to do this, that, and the third. And then in going back to 11 and a half, in the apartments that we lived in on the other side, there was this one girl that was older than me, and she was a cholita, but she was like the good cholita. She went to school, graduated, all that. And my mom trusted me with her. But at the same time, she would give me advice. She started telling me things that I should know and how to take care of myself around guys and all that. And then I had a homegirl that I graduated with. It was at a school where you have to ring the bell. And she lived like a couple blocks down. And back then we used to ride our bikes everywhere, skateboards or skating. And so even though I hung out with the neighborhood kids in Downey, they were good kids, I can say. They weren't bad influence or whatnot. But then I started kicking it with her. And not that she was a bad influence, but I did a lot of stuff at a young age. And then comes the smoking, the drinking, and all that. And at this time, she's my age as well. But she came from, that cholo life. Her parents were gangsters, and, she was used to that at a young age. So I had them 3 that would tell me from right to wrong. Now, I don't blame my grandma and my mom, but I will say my mom and my grandma, like I said, come from generations where they don't talk about that stuff. And they were good parents. My mom's a good mom, and she did everything she could to keep us safe and keep us in, and not in harm's way. But at the same time, they didn't tell me how to take care of myself. And I don't blame that for that. I don't blame them for that and whatnot. It's just the way they grew up, and you don't talk to a kid like that and this and that. So, my grandma used to say, oh, don't do the nasty, mija, because it's dirty and smelly and this and that. But she would never tell me how to take care of myself. And don't do this or that for no man to take advantage of you and whatnot. My mom, the same thing. My mom never told me any of that either. And so I learned on my own. I learned with, these 3 girls that gave me consejos. Then later on, I meet another homegirl. But I kind of self-taught myself. Now, when you hang around with guys and things like that, the first thing they do is they take advantage. They have no respect for girls. And if you're kicking it with the gang life and all that, the girls are considered hood rats. They bust trains on girls and stuff like that. They get them drugged up, drunk, whatever. But from a young age, I learned how to not do certain things. And so I learned how to take care of my own self. I learned how to not kick it with the hood rats, to not kick it with those girls that were like that, because you kick it with that group, you're that group, you know? So the homegirls I did kick it with, some girls, you know, were taken advantage of, or some of them like that shit too, you know? And then some of us just put our foot down, and I will say, I want to thank God to this day. I have never been taken advantage of. I have never been, you know, those words that I'm not going to use on here, but when a woman is taken advantage of, the M word, the R word, I want to thank God that has never happened to me. And I never felt unsafe, or, you know, yeah, I participated in stuff that were unsafe, that were harmful, and that, you know, were dangerous, but I learned how to take care of myself. So I'm probably leaving things out that's not coming to mind. I don't think I'm a bad kid yet or whatnot. I don't think I was ever a bad kid, but so now we're in junior high, and we're still in Downey, and I want to say this is early 95, and I think now I'm 12. So we're in this junior high school, and I get expelled. I beat up a kid and ripped his shirt. I don't remember why and what was the reason for this, but because I beat up a boy, ripped his shirt, the school decided to expel me from all Downey district. Mind you, I don't remember what I was doing in between we moved. What schools I was going to, or what after I got expelled, that's a blur to me. But around this time, my dad's still in prison, and I don't know how my mom got in contact, but my dad R comes into play. And this is when I seen my dad R for the first time. And he came to visit. I was down the corner at my friend's house, and I didn't want to go to the house. And my mom's second child came for me, and, you know, eventually they got me to go back to the house. And I met him. I think it was just, I was young and shocked that I didn't know how to act and appreciate it, I guess. And so I decided after he left that I didn't want nothing to do with him. I told my mom to never do that again. And I didn't want to deal with that, I guess. I don't know. So at this time, I don't remember if my mom gave me a letter or money that supposedly he gave. I don't know. But I know whatever she gave me, I ripped it and threw it down the toilet. I was just young and dumb. And, but I also think it was a good thing for me and him, because, like I told my dad R now, is that maybe at that moment, we were just going to hurt each other. And, maybe he was just going to come in and out, and it was not going to be a good thing for him, not a good thing for me. I will say that my dad T told me later on that he threatened him. I don't know how true that is, but that he threatened him to never come around. I really don't know if that's true or not, but that's what my dad T told me. So I'm going through all of these emotions of what's going on, all the little stupid shit I'm doing and whatnot. And then my mom gets hit with somebody calling the social workers on her. I had a tío that I was really close with, which is my mom's cousin, but I considered him as a tío. We were close at one point until we weren't. And at the time, he had a kid out of state, And that girl came around, and my mom became her friend. And my mom was, I guess, the only one cool with her. And I don't remember the whole story. I do know that I don't remember if it was her that called the social workers on my mom because my mom didn't help her anymore, or one of my tias called the social workers and blamed it on that girl. But man, let me tell you, I couldn't believe it. My mom, the next day, puso los pilas. She got everything she was needed to get. Bunk beds, anything she needed, she got it. She had a homegirl, R, that was supposed to be one of my brother's Ninas at one point. And her and both of them in chinga, putting the house together, doing everything. My mom puso las pilas. And so at this time, my mom's going through all of this. And my dad T gets out of prison. And of course, he comes back. They get back together. And we end up moving. We end up moving to Pico Rivera, which was down the block, because we lived on the borderline of one city and the borderline of the other. And so this is now 95. I'm 12. We're in Pico Rivera. It's a house now with a yard and everything. And I have some neighbors right next door to me, and became my homegirls. One was older, one was older, 1 year older than me, I think. And the other one was like 2 years older than me. And they were from East Los, but they moved into Pico. And they were Mexican. The mom was Mexican. The mom would make some bomb-ass food and send it over to my mom and whatnot. And they were cool. And I started hanging around with one of the sisters. And the other sister was into a party crew. And so, and then mind you, one of the girls from the other apartments that I told you that was like the good chola, she started coming around too and picking me up and taking me, shopping, taking me to the mall, taking me to the movies or to kick it to a house party or whatnot. But these girls next door, that's when I learned about house parties. I started kicking it with them. Now, at this point, my mom is the strict one. My dad, T, he's not so strict. But also, too, my mom's the one that was dealing with all of us and the house and everything. He was just laid back, chilled. And so, so I started going out with these girls. And then, at the time, I'm actually in junior high at Burke Middle School. And now it was a totally different environment of Downey. Downey was, I had white girlfriends, I had Mexican friends, they were good friends, like no bad influence. But Pico, on the other hand, when I went to Burke, it was a whole different world. Not that I got with the bad crowd, but I got with a little group of cholitas. And then I started telling them about the house parties, and we would ditch and go to these kickbacks. And then I would ask my mom if I could go. No. I would ask my dad T. He would say yes. So I would go. And then he would let me go more with the girls next door because they knew him, right? So then I started going to the house parties without them. I would go with my homegirls from school. And so, and then now I'm hanging around with older homegirls, and then you meet their sisters that go to El Rancho High School, and so now you're kicking it with older girls and whatnot. And then across the street from us in that house, my dad had a homeboy that his son was from the same neighborhood as my dad T. And he went to school with us when he did go to school. So we kicked it with him and his homeboys and our homegirls. And mind you, back then, my dad T was able to have different homeboys from different neighborhoods. The same thing with my mom. Her homegirls, some of them were from different neighborhoods. So the homie that lived across the street, his parents were from one neighborhood, from I think it was Watts, and my dad's from Cudahy. So yeah, even the apartments that we would live in, and because back then we used to live in Pico, back in the late 80s, we used to live in Pico in some apartments too, and those apartments had a bunch of homeboys and homegirls from my mom and dad. And then when we lived in Bell Gardens, the same thing, So we grew up with all of that style. And another thing, I know I'm going off track here, but that's something I actually loved as well. I don't think my brothers and sisters remember that era, but I remember back in the 80s, the late 80s, my mom and dad T used to have kickbacks, and kickbacks were pachuco styles. And my mom and her homegirls pachuco styles with their feathers and long hair and their skirts and high heels back. And let me tell you, my mom is a girly girl. I'm not as girly girl. I'm more of a tomboy. But my mom, she always was with her high heels, her skirts, her jumpers. Those jumpers with the black with the white stripes. Bien pachuca. And I love that style. I have admired zoot suits in the 40s. I like the mafias from the 1920s. I'm all into that. And so even though we're supposed to be in the room sleeping, I used to love watching them out there with their homeboys and homegirls, listening to oldies. And that's where I got my love for oldies. And if anybody knows me, my oldies, I love all music, but oldies, especially underground oldies, is my love, my therapy. Music is my therapy in general, but oldies, since I was young. And then my dad T's homeboys became like tios to us, and I just love that when they used to have that. And then that was like for adults when they used to have the little kickback house parties. And then they would have barbecues where they would have all the kids and all of us would grow up together. I remember going to my dad's homeboys' apartment. They had a pool and we grew up with their kids. His wife was my mom's homegirl. And I think that homeboy is actually my Nina's brother. And so my mom and my dad T, every 6th of the month, on the 6th, they would have barbecues. Because back then, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We grew up on welfare. And we grew up on food stamps. And we grew up at a time where we used to get the books of food stamps, the 1s, the 5s, the 10s, the 20s. And I don't know if you guys remember going to the store and buying a gum for 25 cents or 5 cents, and then you get change back. Now you got money. We used to do that. Or with the ice cream truck. And back then the welfare used to give you your check on the 1st, and then your food stamps, I don't remember if it was on the 1st, then they changed it to a date. And then they changed where you get your half of your check on the 1st and the other half on the 15th, I guess, for people to stretch it. And then, we got WIC too. So don't act dumb. You guys didn't grow up like that, because we did. And even those that didn't grow up like that, your mama and your daddy be asking to borrow some of those food stamps. Because I remember I had family members that had cars of the year, and they would come to my mom's house and ask to borrow some food stamps, ask for some toilet paper. So don't act like you're too good for that. So they'll be having their barbecues and stuff, and all their homies kicking it and stuff. And then, but yeah, so going back to the school time, I started kicking it with some homegirls. Later on, I found out that I had met one homegirl, like walking down, because we didn't have cars. Let's just put it out there. We didn't have cars. We walked everywhere and we took the bus everywhere. And if we had to take a school bus, we took a school bus. And my mom used to take the bus everywhere. And with 2 strollers and 6 kids, all that shit. We used to go to the laundromat, everything, because we didn't have all that luxury. And I remember even when we didn't have that kind of money to be going to the laundromat, we would wash our clothes in the bathtub and hang dry them. And I don't know if y'all remember even ironing to dry your clothes before school, ironing them. That's what we used to do too. And so, anyways, going back to the school, I started kicking it with these girls. I remember I got into this one fight right there at Burke. She was a Samoan. And we used to put our history books, our math books in our jackets. Our homegirls would let us borrow some big Ben Davis jackets. And we used to put, the books. So if we got hit in our chest and our stomach, they're hitting the book. But one day we went on, and back then it was 1-on-1. Unless your homegirls got in it, then it was everybody. And we got in a fight with the Samoan girl, and it was my turn. Fuck that. That Samoan fucked me up. Ever since then, I will not fuck with a Samoan. I had my respects for them, and I will not fucking fight a Samoan ever in my life. So yeah, I used to hang out with these girls, and then I had this one homegirl that was from one neighborhood, and she tried to get us into her neighborhood, and we didn't do it. And so I met this one girl while I was walking one day. I don't remember where I was walking at. And she's like, yeah, we go to the same school together, whatnot. And I found out that she was from my dad's T's neighborhood, but just a different clique. And so, and the reason why I found out, because they were having a house party and she was there. She came with the guy from next door, the kid that I told you we go to school with. And she was telling my dad T that she'll watch over me, that, you know, she got my back, whatnot. And I started doing some stuff with her. I stopped kicking it with her for a while because it was getting dangerous, very dangerous. They were doing real shit, and I wasn't ready for that. So, but I'm glad I stopped hanging around with her. So one day we were having a short day at school, and we were gonna go out to McDonald's and kick it at the park. And I asked my mom, she said no. I asked my dad T, he said yeah. So we went, kicked it, and we got into a fight. Well, I didn't get into a fight. One of my homegirls got into a fight, and the way they were fighting made us fucking laugh. And I don't know about y'all, and don't act like you never did this, but when I used to laugh a lot, I used to pee. I used to pee my pants. So while they're fighting, we had these shorts on, and while they're fighting, I start peeing. To me and my other homegirl, we pee our pants because we're fucking laughing so hard because of the way they're fighting. So they're like, we gotta go change. So we were close to my house because we went to my homegirl's house. And I go, well, since we're right here, I'll go change and then we'll go to the park. Now, when we get to my house, my mom is outside watering the grass. We don't have a gate around the front yard. Mind you, my mom is with her long hair, feathers. She got this blouse that's in Pachuca. Excuse me. And she's watering the grass. And I see her. I tell them I'll be back. I'm going to go change. And I tell her I'm going to change. And from there, we're going to the park. When I come out, my mom ran them off with the water hose. And she's screaming, I don't want no fucking cholas in my house. Like, blah, 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 talking shit. Well, I'm like, what? And she tells me, get inside. You're not going. And I told her, like, you're really talking about they look like cholas? And she's talking, you ain't going to hang around with cholas. I don't want these cholas in my house. And I don't tell her this because I know if I tell her this, she's going to kick my ass. But in my head, I'm like, wait a minute. you guys have these kickbacks. You got all these people in the house. Maybe it wasn't her choice. Maybe it was my dad's. I don't know. And you look like a chola yourself. And yet you don't want cholas at your house. So that's when I decided, I made a choice to hide everything after that. I hide wearing makeup at school. I hide what I would wear, leave the house wearing one thing, go at school and change, go and put makeup, wash my face after. And especially when you have pee in the last period is even better. But that moment I decided to hide and have a second life. Why? Because of what my mom did. So I felt like I couldn't bring my homegirls around because my mom was going to chase them off. And so that's what I did. Everything else became like secretly hiding everything. Now, pause there. The girls that I was kicking it with next door, neighbors, we started kicking. We go to house parties. And one time mind you, I'm 12 at this time. We go to a house party. And her homegirl lends me some clothes, and I think it was some shorts and a blouse, and we go kick it. I'm not gonna get into details for respect for my husband, but I lost my virginity at 12 years old. Probably something my mom don't know, but at 12 years old, I lost my virginity. Now, they chopped us off at the corner of our house. And this is, I don't know what time at night. And so while we're walking, I'm changing. I'm putting I think it was some shorts that were overalls. And, they were cute. They don't sound cute right now, but they were cute. And so I'm taking off the other clothes. And, one of my tios that I was close to back in the day, he's actually parked in front of the house, sleeping in his truck. And he catches me. He caught me red-handed, walking down the street, changing my clothes. And so I told him not to tell. I don't know if he ever told my mom, but I never got caught for that, I guess. And so I give my homegirl her homegirl's clothes. And I know her homegirl got mad because they were dirty because of what happened. And so, but I felt bad there because I couldn't wash my clothes. You know, my mom I would go with my mom to laundromat. How was I going to be able to do that? So, now, experience something different. Now, developing different. Now I have these other feelings. And when that happens, we change, our body changes everything. And so, before I stop this story right here, I want to say something about my neighbors. Their mom, I think she was from Michoacan, and she used to make some bomb ass food and give it to my mom to give us. Well, one day, this is a story so one day, she sent a pot of vida to our house, and my dad so we don't eat it. He told us that it was dog, and for us not to eat it. And of course, you're telling us it's dog. We're not going to want to eat it. So he ate the pot, and we're all looking at him like he just ate dog, right? And fast forward to when I got married and I was pregnant with my daughter. This has nothing to do with the other stories, but let me just tell this. Fast forward to when I'm pregnant with my daughter. Me and my husband, we're in Mexicali, and his uncle, they're baptizing one of his cousin's kids, and they make vida, and his cousin's recording, and the cousin records me picking at my food. I'm pregnant, and I'm looking at this food, and I ask what it is, and they tell me it's vida, and I'm thinking to myself, this is dog. I didn't know back then that chiva or just this meal, but I knew it as dog, right? Because that's what my dad told us. So I'm picking on it, and in the video, it looks like I'm lelicada. I go to Mexicali, and I'm lelicada for la comida and that, and it wasn't that. It was that they're giving me dog to eat, and I'm pregnant, so you can imagine the asco I'm feeling in my stomach. So I tell my husband the story, and oh my God, they cracked up so much because they couldn't believe what I had said. And they explained to me what it was, and I'll eat that shit every day now. I don't care. But yeah, that was just a story I wanted to share from my neighbors. So yeah, now that's the end of that story. Now at this time too, my mom's second child, my dad T's mom, is our grandma, right? But she was a mean lady. Yeah, we did call her grandma. She did buy us some gifts here and there for Christmas, and she was our grandma. But I think the only grandma I knew for Mimi was my mom's mom, my grandma C. She was the only one that we grew up as grandma. And I think, yeah, so, but my dad T's mom, she, we called her grandma only out of respect for him, but she didn't play the role as a grandma. She was mean. And my mom's second child, which would have been my dad T's first child, is a boy. And for her, that was her favorite. Even though they had a total of 5 kids together, she always considered him her favorite. Now, my grandma C, my mom's mom, a lot of people say I was her favorite. Now I'm going to leave that for another story. But with my siblings, my grandma C never treated my siblings any different. At the time, I was the only girl. And so my grandma C would take me with her, would buy me things and all that because, my mom had 4 boys. Then later on, she had a little girl. But even though I was still the oldest. And then my grandma confessed it to me years later, my grandma C, that the way she treated my mom when she was pregnant with me, she felt and owed it to my mom and felt obligated to help my mom with me because of how her and, the issues between her and my mom when my mom was pregnant. So, but my grandma, my dad T's mom, grandma, she didn't like none of us. She liked us, but not really. And so I remember we would go to her house and whatnot, but and she bought us gifts for Christmas, all of us, but it was always he was the favorite. And so I remember when we're living in Pico, 95, for vacations, I would go with my grandma C, and then she moved, my dad T's mom moved to Arizona. And so she decided for the vacation that for him to go with her. So my mom let him go with her. But she tried to turn the cards and try to brainwash him. And she tried to take him away from my mom. And my mom was not going to allow it. So I don't remember what my mom did to get him back here. And mind you, we're living on Paramount Boulevard. We live on a busy ass street, and Paramount and Telegraph. This lady, it's raining, drops him off in the middle of the street and throws him those black trash bags, throws his bag to the grass and drops him off in the middle of the street when there's traffic everywhere. And because he asked to come home, because he found out she was trying to take him from my mom or whatnot. And then my mom, I guess, called the authorities for her to bring him back. I don't remember. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm trying to talk about all the memories I have from that house. In this house that we're living in Pico, I have good memories. I have bad memories. The only grandpa we knew as well, and to this day is the only grandpa I ever knew, was my dad T's dad. He also is in the gang life, and he was always in and out of prison too, just like my dad T. And so when he did come around, it was fun. It was a good time. He was such a good man. He treated us with so much love and everything. And we loved having him around when he did come around. I know even with his own family, he was in and out because, he was in the street life. And I remember one time he bought us 2 black dogs. I don't remember what kind of dogs they were. And all the kids were excited, happy, everything. You got your yard, and the dogs are in there. And we had some neighbors in the back that got mad that we had dogs, and they poisoned them and they died, which was sad for my little brothers and sisters. And then another memory I have in that house, mind you, at this time I'm just rambling, but this is for me to have documented of the memories I have. I should have started from each house, but I'm just talking about this house. Another thing I have in there is funny is that one of my uncles at the time got a tattoo of Selena. And I had this big frame poster of Selena, and they asked to borrow it to copy the picture. And the guy that did the tattoo, that does not look like Selena. It looked like some ugly ass fucking lady. And so that's a memory I have there. Another memory I have there is, that I'll never forget, is I smashed my sister's finger. We used to have this back door, which was this thick, heavy door. And it had a glass in the middle. And one day, I don't remember how, my sister's finger got stuck. I think it's her ring finger. And I closed the door and got it. And her finger was only hanging, from the yema to the first line of, I want to say like an inch. I don't think that's an inch. Yeah, I'm going to say an inch. Her finger came off. It was only holding by a piece of meat. And she had to have stitches. And I think to this day, she still has that scar of that. Another memory I have in this house in Pico Rivera is my mom had, the first year we were there in 95, my mom has a Christmas party. And this is the first time my mom makes pozole. And my grandma comes over, my mom's mom, and my mom's brothers and sisters. And I had never, ever seen my grandma's side of the family ever getting into fights. The ones that got into more fights are my grandma's sister side of the family, because we were close to them as well. But like my grandma and her kids, I've never seen them have fights. And this was the first time, and I think the last time too. I've never seen them again. But they had a fight. It was raining, pouring that day. And I'm not going to go into the details of what everything happened, because I do remember every single thing that happened. But it was just half of everybody took one side, half of the other took the other side. My mom was being the peacemaker. And mind you, my dad T, because my mom's family didn't like him, he was just sitting there fucking laughing like a fucking ass, because this was a joke for him, seeing my mom's family get into a fight. And but yeah, I have that memory in there, not just because of that fight, but because that was when my mom made pozole for the first time. And times were hard sometimes. I'm going to stop there. But times were hard sometimes. And my mom used to cook us some bomb-ass meals. And I know she struggled to make us those meals. It was not easy. I do remember in that house, I used to help my mom with my younger brothers and sisters and changing Pampers and making bottles, and help her in the kitchen, not cook as much, but do the cheese, the lettuce, wash the dishes, wash clothes. And when the food stamps or the money didn't last through the whole month, I remember my mom making the last two of my siblings, my brother and my sister, their bottles of water with sugar because there was no more milk. And mind you, at this time, my mom used to get powder milk as well. That's why I hate powder milk. I will never drink powder milk in my life because, my mom used to get food too from churches and the WIC and all that, and they would give powder milk. And I would never eat powder milk again. But my mom made it happen no matter what it was, even though my daddy was there, but I will give all the credit to my mom. She made it happen. And so I have those memories. I have memories that there was times I did see my mom not eat, or she would eat a little bit so we can eat, or there was times where she didn't eat so we can eat. And it was hard. I have, out of my brothers and sisters, there's one brother that he would never get full. He always wanted seconds or third. And I remember in this house, we had two entrances. One entrance, you could go to the kitchen through the living room, and then you could go to the kitchen through the hallway where the rooms were at. And he used to wake up at night or pretend he was asleep, and he would sneak in the kitchen and open the refrigerator and one time we catched him eating a piece of chicken, and because he wouldn't get food. And he wasn't even that chunky. He was normal size. He was a little bit more chunkier than us, but normal size. And but yeah, those are good. I also have memories of good stuff there too, of us riding bikes, of us playing, us doing family things. In that house, I learned about sports. Well, a little bit before that, my dad did teach us a lot about sports. I get my football from him. I love NFL, and I get it from him. We used to watch boxing, basketball, wrestling. So we grew up with that. And I also remember in that house, my mom, I don't remember how she got it, but she got us a Super Nintendo because we already had a Nintendo, but with all the kids, we have to share. So we already had Nintendo, and then they got us a Super Nintendo. And then my mom, no matter what, I don't remember who would bring us a Christmas tree. I remember one time my grandpa F bring us a Christmas tree, and then my mom would decorate it. I don't know if y'all remember, but decorating the Christmas tree with Kicks, the cereal Kicks, and the strings, and then Cheerios, popcorn, and then putting them around the trees. And then we used to do the other one out of construction paper. Remember, we used to make those rings, the green and red one. We used to decorate our house with that. For Christmas, my mom always made it happen. If she didn't have the money, she would go to these churches and they would give her boxes of toys and we would have stuff. Say a toy came out in 87. We didn't get it in 87. We probably got it in 88 or in 89 when it wasn't popular no more. But for us, that shit was popular because we were happy to get that shit. Yo-yos, all that. Those are good memories I have, waking up and watching cartoons and all that. I'm just rambling, but these are memories I'm just trying to throw out there for me. I remember my cousin coming over and we used to go walking, and we used to go to the stores. Mind you, we had Pico Swap Meet. If you guys remember Pico Swap Meet down the street on Slauson. And I never regret anything I've done in my life. But I used to go to steal at the swap meet. I know it's not a nice thing and stealing's bad and whatnot, but that's how it was. And I don't regret it. It's a learning experience. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, that's how I got my clothes, my tops, my shorts, some of my makeup from stealing from the swap meet. But we used to love going to Pico Swap Meet. I remember when my cousin came over. I bought my first tape there of Too Short, just getting it. Cause back then that's what we had, cassettes. And then we would go walking. There was like this little rehab center or a convalescent home down the other side. And we used to go and check out the guys that worked there and stuff like that. And go to the liquor store. I remember when Tupac died, I got my magazines from that liquor store. Selena's magazine, I got it from that corner liquor store. To this day, that liquor store is still there. Across the street from that liquor store, it's all new. It's a gas station now and all that, but I just have those memories of that time being in that era. Also, too, I started kicking it with these other girls that were from a neighborhood there in Pico. And for a while, I was claiming their neighborhood. And but I never got into it. But what else do I remember? There's so many good memories there. The bad memory I have from that house is the last one when my mom and my dad separated for good. By this time I'm 14. I used to go to my grandma's house a lot on vacations, and or even on the weekends I would go there a lot. So there's a lot of things that I didn't see because I was gone. Mind you, before we moved to Pico, a couple years back, we lived in Downey. No, I'm sorry. We lived in Bell Gardens, and we used to go to this church. And I'm going to go back to that story in Bell Gardens because I have a lot of memories from that house too, in Garfield. And but we used to go to this church, and we got really close to two of the ladies and their husbands, and they took us in like their kids. And each week, they would take us to McDonald's. And I'm not going to lie, there was times that we went to the church just to go to McDonald's because that was a treat for us. Because mind you, we didn't grow up, going to fast food and stuff. If we ever had hamburgers, it was from little indie shops, like little burger, not shops, little indie burgers, like Primo's Burgers, like that, not McDonald's and all those kind of places. So when these ladies would take us to McDonald's, it was exciting. And I think for a long time, me and my siblings, at least four of us, it was four of us because my last two brothers and sisters, we never took them. We looked forward for Sundays. It was like getting out of the house, getting away from the trauma, getting away from the problems. It was an escape for us to get out of the house. And that's way back in 92, I'm talking about, in 94, and then 95. And because when we lived in Downey, we would go, but because I was a teenager, I wouldn't go as much. But in Pico, I started going again. And I did it for my brothers and sisters. And so at this time at Pico, it was an escape for us. So, and then it was an escape for me to go to my grandma's house. It was an escape, and then me convenía también, because at my grandma's house, I had more liberty. I was able to go out. And mind you, my grandma lived in Bow. And over there, I had my own set of friends too. Even though I didn't go to school over there, I had my own homegirls. When I was at my grandma's house, I would go walking, especially that my uncle lived down the street. And, you know, at that age, you're trying to look for guys and all that. And that's what I was doing. So not only was it an escape to get out of my house from the problems, it was also me convenía, like it was convenient for me because I wanted that shit too. Because the last year with my mom and my dad T got really bad. My dad T used to sell drugs and he used drugs as well. But then in the end, I knew certain drugs he used. And later on, my mom told me some stuff he would do, worse drugs, and where he was doing it so she wouldn't find out. Then he started hanging around with this white boy and the white boy's girlfriend, and they were very into drugs and those kind of rockers. I don't know why or how I think when he got out of prison, he had went to go work construction with the guy, and that's how he met him. But he was just not all there anymore. And when I told you a story in the previous episode, I talked about how I used to protect my siblings, but I didn't go into details. But I will say that there was a time back in 94, in the beginning of 94, before my mom put him in prison the first time, he got really bad on drugs, and they were painting the house, and he used to have this long hair. He grew his hair kind of long to his ears, a little more past his ears. And that night, he looked like, I'll never forget it. He looked like Charles Manson. He even put paint on his forehead. He even put paint on his chest. The paint that they were painting the house. And he looked like Charles Manson. So fast forward to 96, he had grew out his hair again. And it was kind of long to his neck, I think. And he was already looking like that again. And he started being evil again. And I seen things, I heard things. And the night my mom decided to leave him was really bad. It was a rainy night. My uncle had lived with us. Before my uncle, my dad's niece lived with us. And she left, but his, I don't remember where they moved. Actually, no. Actually, she was living with us still. But before that, my uncle and his wife lived with us. And then they got a house. They got one of the houses down the street. Now, these houses were mixed down this whole block. There was Chinos, there was Mexicans, there was whites. It was different races. And where the little set that they moved into was all Chinos. And so all the houses were the same, exactly the same. So when we went out our back door, you jumped the fence, and my neighbor's house is the same way, the back door to the kitchen to the front door. And then if you keep going straight into everybody's households, which my mom ended up doing to get away from him, she went from one house to the next, to a door to get into my uncle's house. And that night she had to save herself. And so she ran for her life. And I ended up grabbing my brothers and sisters and saving them. And I just remember getting out. My mom finally, I guess, got to my uncle's house, which was 4 houses down, but she actually jumped fences to get into their doors and ran from one door into another, until she got into theirs. And she hid there and called the cops. My uncle and her called the cops. And I just remember that before the cops got there, my dad T was in the middle of the street. We lived on Paramount Boulevard, busy ass street. It's fucking raining like crazy. And he's in the middle of the street like a fucking crazy person. He didn't look like Charles Manson this time, but he just looked like a fucking crazy person. So his niece was living with us at the time, and she was Morena, and she was married to a Moreno guy. And I don't remember, she didn't come back, but her man came back. And when he came back, he seen the commotion, and he went, I told him, go get, what he did. So he went in the middle of the street to beat him up. But I don't know what drug my dad T was on, but this guy was 6 foot tall, big dude. And my dad was a short dude, and he fucking knocked the teeth out of him. And, you know what? I don't think I have that right. I don't remember if the guy knocked my dad out and busted his teeth, or my dad to him. I think I got that confused, but I'm not too sure on that. So I know that when the cops came, my dad T ran. And where he ran, my mom's second child knew where he ran at. So he told the cops where to find him. I think he actually went with the cops to go find him. And he hid in that house, which was in Downey. And my dad T found out later that his son, to him, says that his son ratted on him. So he had said that he was going to break his legs for what he did. And my mom's second child would never come back again to that house because, we went to my grandma's house after. But when my mom was going to go back for a reason, he never went back because what my dad T said. So my mom leaves. My grandma C comes, which is my mom's mom, comes for us, all of us, and her husband comes with his protection to protect us. And so we go to my grandma's house, and this is actually a day after Christmas. This is December 26th, 1996. And the first, my mom needs to get her check. And they used to mail your check back then. It was not that you picked it up or what. They mailed it to you every time on the 1st. And so my mom was going to get hers actually, I think, on the 30th or 31st because of New Year's. And so my mom needs to go back, but she needs to play it safe. So she pretends that she's going to go back with him, and she takes the kids. Now me, my mom's second child, and my brother F decide that we're not going back. And so she goes back with the 3 little ones. I'm not there. I don't know anything that happened. Only my mom knows. But my mom did tell us that he literally threatened her those, I think it was a day or 2 that she was there. My grandma C had got me a day bed that was like metal. And turns out he took that bed apart and he put all the bars on the floor by the doors, so my mom and the kids can't escape. He got the knives and put the knives as well. I don't remember if my mom slept with him with the knife behind her back or another weapon. And she feared for her life just to get that check. And as soon as the mailman came, she got her check. She called my grandma C, and her husband came with his protection. And she left. Now my little brother T has a ball, and the ball goes to the backyard. and he's the last one that needs to get out the gate. And my dad sees at the door because he's at the door, he's watching her leave. And he blocks my little brother T. Mind you, at this time, my little brother T, I think he's like 4 years old at this time. And he blocks him that he can't come out. And my mom is screaming for him to come. And my dad T won't let him out. He doesn't hold him. He just doesn't let him out the gate. You have to move the latch for the gate to open. And a little 4-year-old can't do that. And so now my mom's scared. Like he's not letting her child go. And so he's laughing. He's laughing, and because she can't leave unless she has her other kid. And so finally he lets him go. My grandma's husband came out with his protection and threatened him. And so he let him out. And you would think that was just the worst. We find out that he has the house to himself, right? So he has a New Year's party. Knowing what he just did to his wife, knowing what he did to his kids, knowing that, he didn't hit them, but he hit me. He hit my mom. My mom is just not even a hit. It was bad. Because he almost tried killing her. And I think if my mom never got away that night, she wouldn't be here today. So yeah, like I said, he had a New Year's party and had all his little youngster homies there from a clique that it wasn't even his own clique. And they had guys, girls in there. And they destroyed the house. My mom got a phone call on the 1st that he was arrested. And then my mom got a call from the owner of the house, the manager, the owner. He had lived like the end of that block. It was a long block. He had lived on the end. And he told my mom of all the damages and that she would have to pay for it because, mind you, the house was under her name. She's the one that got the house. When we went there, they had tagged up all the house. They had put milk, eggs in the couches. They had, destroyed everything. They stole our Christmas stuff. That year, my grandma had got me this earring set with a chain and a ring. Back then, it was like these little dolls that had colors in them. They stole all my girl stuff and all my mom's girl stuff, our underwear, our everything they stole. Because I had a closet in the hallway that had all my stuff in there away from the other kids. My own shampoo, my own everything. And they stole everything. My mom had a picture frame of her and her brothers and sisters. And these girls decided to tag on it and post their pictures. And remember, I was telling you that I had a homegirl that was from the same neighborhood as my dad, except a different clique. Well, her picture was there. And later on, I found out that she was there and she did some things. And I didn't fight her, but one of my older homegirls got her for me. It was just sad to see our house destroyed. It was sad to see my mom sad. Seeing her being sad, it was sad. The last time in 94 when my mom left my dad tea, she kept all the stuff. She kept all his stuff, which, but this time around in 96, my uncle was helping her move everything because we had to move. The owner, told her she had to pay to get the house fixed and had to move. And of course, she was not going to go back there. She threw everything away. Later on in the years, never forgetting and forgiving my dad T, but I wish I would have kept a lot of his stuff. He had a lot of Pachuco stuff, a lot of prison drawings, a lot of prison drawings on wood, on the cups, because I don't know if you guys remember back then that the prison cups, they used to tattoo on the Tupperware cups. And just a lot of stuff. Stacey Adams, cassettes, radios. I just wish I could have got all that stuff. But when they went to go move, I didn't go with them anymore. And my mom told my uncle, in the back of that house was another house. And in the back of that house was the alley. And my uncle told me that she said, just throw everything in the alley. Fish tank, everything of his, she threw out. This time she didn't keep anything at all. And from there we went to go, at that time we were staying with my grandma. She was living in Bell. She used to live on Walker, but on the other side of Walker before her last apartment that I lived at. And we only stood there 2 weeks. My mom se puso los pilas y encontró casa in Maywood, a house actually in Maywood, and a fence up and a yard for us kids, everything. And I'm 14 and a half right now. And I will say those 2 weeks living with my grandma C was an eye-opener for me as well. Because before that, my mom's side of the family used to tell my mom all the time to leave him. What are you still being with him? Because I think in the end, she was just probably with them because of the kids. And not only that, back then it was not realistic for the women to leave the men. And not just for the kids, but you had to stay with it and stick it out. And then where were you going to go? Your family's only going to be there for so long, And so when they used to always tell her to leave him, because my grandma was a person that she'll tell it like it is. And she used to tell my dad his truths all the time. She used to talk shit to him. And then he would he would laugh. He was also a person that was fake in front of other people as well. He acted like the Mr. Nice Guy in front of people. So a lot of people thought he was nice. But we all knew the truth. But he would play the part in front of my grandma and uncles and aunts sometimes. But he was a good person, a good dad, but he had a lot of bad on him. I remember I know I'm going back again, but I remember from that house, one of my cousins, it's not my story to tell, but she was going through some issues, and she ran away. And she went to our house, and my dad T was willing to go to jail for her because that's how much he loved her too, you know? That's what I'm saying. He had good intentions sometimes. He was good, but there was more bad than good that I remember. My siblings can have other opinions of how they feel as well, especially my brothers, because, you know, as a boy, as a guy, you need that father figure. So I think as a girl and a guy, it's different. But I will say that I have certain memories. I don't know what memories they have, or how they feel. I also have a memory of my dad T. Like I said, my mom was the strict one, and I remember in the room, me and my cousin were kicking it one day, and he came in and threw us joints. He would pass by, open the door, and throw us a joint. And he was not Chi Chong because, oh my God, because he had to make his weed last so long through the month, he used to roll himself 2-pick joints. And so the joints that he would throw us in the room, they were like 2-picks. So we would crack the window and we would smoke right there. I don't know if my mom ever found out, but we used to do that. I know a dad shouldn't do that, but that's what he would do with us. I don't know if my cousin still remembers that times. And then, like I said, like the time he was willing to go to jail for my cousin, because the cops were already on their way. So my mom ended up finding a house in Maywood, and because she knew she couldn't stay with my grandma with 6 kids and plus herself. And but I will say that at the moment I was angry. Around that time, a lot of my frustrations, my sadness, my hurt, everything started turning into rage, into anger, into temper, into attitude. At 14, that's when me and my mom, okay, I'll stop right there. So around those 2 weeks we were at my grandma's, before that, they would always tell my mom to leave him, to leave him, to leave him. And when she finally did, and this time was for good, not that I heard, not that it was chismes, I heard it. I mean, not that it was chismes, but I heard it with my own ears and seen it my own self. Those same family members, I think because they were going through a similar situation, or not similar, but somewhat, and they knew what it was not to be with their kids, I think, or having issues with their spouses, because everybody could give their opinion. But I will say, everybody goes, when you're married, and you're not even if you're just married, when you're in a relationship, you don't know what it is until you're in a relationship and you start having problems. Everybody wants to talk down on everybody else's marriage or everybody's relationship, but every couple, young, old, middle, whatever, there's no perfect couple. There's always arguments about something. And I seen it with my aunts and uncles. I seen in their relationships. I was at their houses before when I would see them argue and see them doing things. I remember one time I got in trouble. I fucking got beat with the belt because I threw rap. Because I remember this was, I think, in the late 80s. I found out that my aunt was married and had kids with this one guy, which to this day I still call him uncle, and his wife aunt. Even they've been together over 30 years now, because he remarried with her and had kids with her. And but at the time he was with my aunt, and he wasn't those cholos types, but I found out he was selling drugs and all that. And I went and snitched. I was a little kid at that time. I snitched and told everybody. And I got in trouble for that. My grandma hit me. My grandma talked shit to me and my mom hit me because I shouldn't be talking about adult stuff. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things I've seen and heard that people don't think that other people know. Even my grandma, I seen her in her relationships. There's nobody perfect. I'll talk about my relationship on another episode, but what I'm saying is no one's perfect. But when my mom was with my dad, T, I understand they were coming from a good place. They seen what my mom was going through. They only seen 1/4. I will say that. My grandma and my mom's side of the family only seen 1/4. They didn't see everything. They didn't see a lot of the stuff. And that's why some things I'm saying here, they can't relate because we grew up with my dad T's family on his mom's side and his dad's side. And we grew up with different parts of homeboys that became family. But when my mom left them in 96, those same family members were saying, why did you leave them? You left your kids without a dad. You sent them back to jail. And there was this one time they told her that she should go take his kids to go visit him, that they should see his father. And I don't know what made her do it. She went. Me and my mom's second child did not go. And that other second child didn't go because he was already threatened that he would break his legs. Because my dad T also had mentioned before too that his kids had to be from his neighborhood. If not, he was going to break their legs as well. He had said that before too, that his kids couldn't get into no other neighborhoods besides his. And so she takes them to go see him. But after that, it was over. It was done. This was the last time. She never got back with him. I will say for many years, my mom was terrified of him. I think we were all at one point. He threatened her. He was very manipulated. Now we know that word, manipulation, because back then at least for me, I didn't know what that was. He knew how to scare her. He knew what taxes to use. I don't think that's the word, but you know what I fucking mean. Also, I found out later that he sent his homeboys to scare my mom. Well, we thought it was the other way around, but one time we were at this burger stand. It was called Jim's Burgers, I think in Bow. And his homeboys, they were brothers. They were called the G brothers. I'm not going to say the whole last name, but they were called the G brothers. And they came up to her and they tried to threaten her. And me and my mom's second child we went in front of her and we said, you ain't doing shit. And mind you, we're in the public in a restaurant where everybody is seeing. And they went up to her and tried to threaten her. And no, we went in front of her and we said, no, who the fuck you think you are? You ain't touching her. You ain't touching us and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? It ended there. Never again. No one did anything to us or anything. My mom stood away from certain people for many years. Then she reconnected with some of her homegirls. She just reconnected a couple years back with one of her homegirls from back in the day that also was married to one of my dad T's homeboys. And, you know, they share similar stories. They were both going through domestic violence without even knowing. They both played it off when they were hanged out with each other back in those days, you know. And they tell each other their stories now and they couldn't believe that. You know, they were living that kind of life. Because back then too, you didn't tell your homegirls what you were going through either. Like everything, they grew up and we grew up with always holding it in, sweeping everything under the rug. And that's a mentality that we grew up with for a lot of years. I still had that mentality for years where what happens in the home does not come out the home. You don't tell anything to the school, to counselors, to nobody. Going off track. I'll come back right now. Going off track. Something happened with one of my siblings at one point back in 98, I think. And we had to go to counseling. It was forced that we had to go. And at the time, I wasn't even living with my mom. I was living with my grandma, but I was still forced to go to these counseling things. And because we grew up with the mentality that you don't open up, you don't say anything, because if you open your mouth and say something, they're going to take you away from your mom. They're going to take you away and put you in foster home and this and that, which is even worse, because we didn't have it bad with my mom. We didn't have it worse. We didn't have it bad, at least for me, what I could say. And whatever my siblings went through on their terms, on their life, that's their story. But for me, I will say that, so when we used to go in these counseling sessions, they used to give you a paper that had faces, and you had to circle the face of how you were feeling in your home or today. In the back of that, you had to explain. And me and my brothers and sisters, we had a thing. We go in, and my mom never told us to do this. We just did it on our own, because counseling is separate from your parents. They're not allowed in. We would always just put a happy face and put the happy face at the back of the page. And that was it, because we grew up with that mentality. You don't say what happens in the home. You don't tell the school anything. You don't open up about anything, which at that time, I will say it was good for us and bad at the same time, because you hold all of that shit in for so many years, and it fucking breaks you one day and you explode. And me, I'm a person that explodes with anger, not emotion. And I feel like bottling that all in and holding it in, it's good, at least for me. Like what I would see, if I opened my mouth and said something, what are they going to do? They're going to come in, take me and my brothers and sisters away for what? And put us in bad situations where people are getting M and R, that people are getting abused and not getting fed, and be on the street worser. If we all came out the way we came out, I think if we were in foster thing, we would have came out worse. So, I will say, thank God we didn't get into the system. This is not my story to say, but I do have a sibling that was in the system in some sort. And, I seen the hurt. Only what I seen. I don't even know. I probably only know 1/4 of what he's been through. No, I think I know a little bit more than 1/4. I don't think half, maybe half of what he's been through. But I seen how that turned into rage and anger, and how that made him to make choices in his life. So going back to the counseling, that's what we did. I will say, I made that mistake as well with my kids. I made it clear with my kids that they were open to talk about anything. But I also will say, you can't say what happens in the household. And even if nothing bad was happening in our household, I will still tell them that, because I had that mentality. You don't tell the school this and that and the third. You know what I mean? You don't say things out of the home. And later on, through my own kids, I learned, when my kids were still probably like teenagers, I learned about therapy. I learned about counseling. I learned how good it is for you. The most happiest people have therapy. It's not a bad thing to have therapy. It's not a sin. You're not a rat. I also grew up with that you can't snitch, you can't rat. And it's like in The Sopranos, you're in the mafia, you can't be going to a therapist. And I had that mentality for years. I probably still do it. I haven't been to a therapist. I do other things. I think I haven't been to a therapist because I can't afford it. But I have found other ways to help me in therapy. Music. There's so many things. I don't want to give all my things away, but I do a lot of things for therapy that I've seen that has helped me. Doing this right now is therapy because I'm letting everything out. What I've been balling up for years, what turned me into a person that I didn't want to be. What I felt like I could turn and make it bad for my home, my household, make it bad for my own family. So I feel like by doing this, it lets everything out at once and I don't turn into that person. You know what I mean? Because right now I'm letting all this out and I think it's the age, probably the premenopause. But I've never been an emotional person, only with my husband and my kids. Okay, going back to when I was 14 and a half, my mom gets this house in Maywood. Her family tells her that she shouldn't have left him, and then they got over it because she moved on. Now we're in this house. I have my own room. My mom gives me my own room. My brothers have their room. My mom shares a room with my little sister. And this was the first time in forever that we had normalcy. We had a family home. Yeah, we didn't have a dad in our home, but my mom was mom and dad. And it was more normal. We had, our furniture, our food, everything. My mom got a job. She was working for the welfare for a while. Then she got other jobs and she was working. And it was nice seeing her be her. You know what I mean? Because she was sheltered for so long. Mind you, my dad wanted everything to be closed. All the curtains, all the doors, all the windows closed. I'm like that today because I love the dark. I'm a vampire. Not because, somebody's telling me to close everything, but no, I love black. I love my black curtains. I love to have my room dark. But because I love that, like I said, I'm a vampire. But when my mom left my dad, no. My mom, to this day, my mom don't have dark curtains in her house. To this day, it's been over 28, 29 years that she left him. And, it's been a long time. Almost 30. I don't know for sure if it's 30 yet. I don't think so. But, to this day, she don't have dark curtains. She has like see-through kind of curtains. And white, I think, or beige. With me and my cousins used to make fun of her because, us teenagers making fun of our parents. Because, even when it was raining and cold, LA doesn't get that cold. But when it did, when it rained and got cold, she would have all the windows open, all the doors open, and we would be freezing. And she didn't care because she felt free. She wanted to be free. She didn't. And mind you, I think she's coprophobia. I think that's the word, where she can't be like in an elevator cerrado. So I don't know the right word for it. That's the word that's how I pronounce it. So, but that made her feel happy. She felt free. We used to say, oh, you want to be just in a bikini con todo abierto, raining or anything. And like she said, rain or shine, rain or sunshine, whatever, I'm going to have everything open. And, so yeah, this was the first time that we had Christmas as good, Thanksgiving. I mean, it was just good. This is now early 97. And, now I'm in junior high now. I'm at Nimitz Middle School in Bell. I don't know if it's Huntington Park or Bell. And what I love about Nimitz is that every school that I've been to has a beautiful memory with me. Everyone. Nimitz, when I went to school in Nimitz, my dad went to Nimitz. My mom went to Nimitz, and now I'm in Nimitz. I think my dad went to Bell High. My mom went to Bell High. I went to Bell High. And that's just a good feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but to me, it's just a beautiful feeling I have in my heart. So now I'm in Nimitz. I already have done a lot of stuff. I started young. Like I said, I lost my virginity at 12. My mom don't know this, but I was already doing drugs, drinking at 12. I was already smoking weed at 12. Cigarettes, I didn't. I smoked cigarettes, I think once or twice with my cousin, and I didn't like them. I didn't like the smell. And to this day, I still don't like the smell of cigarette. I don't know. To me, it wasn't my thing. But, smoking weed, yes. And, I only did one type of drug. Back then it was called speed. And I'm not proud of it, but that's what I did. And I would drink, Old English, King Cobra, all malt liquor, beers, Cisco's, Night Train, the Boonies. Boonies were like Kool-Aids for me. Brass Monkey with the orange juice and Old English together. That actually, and you know, my cousin had some homegirls. They were not like the Chola kind of vibe, but my cousin at one point lived in Hawaiian Gardens, and she had these group of homegirls. And when I would go to her house and spend the night, we used to go over there to her friend's house, and they were so welcoming. I was always welcome. She had this one friend that had this beautiful family, the dad, the sisters. They were so welcoming. And so we used to have parties there. And for me, they were more like skater parties, rock parties, kind of like. It were different from like the house parties I would go to, that I would secretly go, because not only did I hide what I was doing from my mom, I actually hid it from all my family. I was really close to one of my cousins, my cousin Al. We were close. I mean, close, like sisters. And even though we were close and best friends, I hid it so much shit from her too. Why? Because she didn't like the Chola style either. She didn't like a lot of my Chola friends either. So I decided to keep that all away. To tell you the truth, I had kind of like 3 different lifestyles. One with my family, one with my homegirls, like Chola homegirls, and one at school. because those were different kind of friends, homegirls. You know, they weren't the same as the gang homegirls. The Chola homegirls at school were one type compared to the Chola homegirls that were in gangs. The only one that knew the truth of that when I met my husband was my husband, because when I met him, that's the life I was living. And he knew what I was doing. And I'll get into that stories later. But so I was close to her, but even then she didn't know what I was doing. So I fucking lost my train of thought. So yeah, I don't remember what I was talking about, but basically when I lived in Maywood, I don't even know where I was going. Now I have so many good memories in Maywood. The only bad memories I have in that house in Maywood is the fights with my mom. Now I'm a teenager. I'm 14 and a half. I'm going to be 15. And I'm doing, I think that's what I was saying. I started at 12. I was young when I started. You know, I was being with guys, but at the same time, I was taking care of myself. I was using protection. I would go to these free clinics, and get condoms. I always make sure that I took care of myself. Like I told you, I was like self-taught where to take care of myself, to not get pregnant, not get no diseases, none of that. And I watched who I was with too. I wasn't just with anybody. I will say, and this is not to disrespect my husband, but I will say that I probably had a lot of boyfriends, but I didn't sleep with all of them. That's what I want to say. Like, I didn't sleep with all of them. So, and back then, you know, you were talking to this one person and you were talking to 1, 2, 3 people. It wasn't like you were just with one person. So in Maywood, I'm more into the party scene. I don't have the same other homegirls that I used to have in Downey or Pico. I don't have those same friends anymore. Later on, I run into them at parties and we kick it for a bit, but not as much. And then I run into some of them after I got married or at the welfare office and shit like that. But, so now in Maywood, I'm going to Nimitz, and, I had a thing when I was in school. I will not be with anybody my age. Now today's world is, this is something I tell my kids. I don't think they understand it, but a lot of me and my homegirls, we didn't get with guys our age. We got with people that were older, which I know is wrong, right? But, cause I wouldn't want my kids to be doing that, right? But that's just the way it was. And there was nothing wrong with that. As long as the guy didn't take advantage of you, I don't see anything wrong with that. There was times we lied about our age, and I know you all done it too. We've all lied about our age at one time to people. So, or to get into places. So in Maywood, I started getting more into these house parties with party crews. My grandma also had a comadre that we kicked it with. Well, I don't think at this time I was kicking it with her. No, I'll go back to that story at another time. Well, in Maywood, I had with the block, half of the block had a lot of teenagers that we went to school with or that you hung out with. And they were from party crews, the guy party crews, the girl party crews, the rebels and all that. The flyers. I don't know if you guys remember getting the flyers and going. And so I had different styles. There was times I was like, I wore girly clothes, you know, with I don't know if they were platforms or whatnot. And there was times I was like chola kind. And I remember I cut my hair. My mom got a makeover. My aunt took my mom to get a makeover to get rid of her feathers and to get a new start. And there was my aunt knew this one hairstylist, and she took my mom to the shop, and my mom chopped off her long black hair to her shoulders and dyed it, I think, copper or auburn at that time. And it was a whole change for my mom. My mom, it was like, because I love my mom's beautiful black hair right now. My mom actually has her hair's growing long and it's black. She dyed it black. And I love seeing her with that color. I don't know. It brings me back to her like Pachuca ways, Pachuca style. And, but yeah, and she got a makeover and, she changed her style. And then, and even though she changed her style, don't get me wrong, she still loved her oldies, her old school. And across the street from us, she still had her homegirls, and we would go to their house. They would come to ours. Like, she still had her homegirls, and they did kickbacks and all that. Like, the style was still there, but she tried to do a new, try to have a fresh start. Now, at this moment, I'm being a teenager. I want to be on the street. I want to do my things. And my mom at this time, and this is not talking bad about my mom or anything, but at this time, she is finding herself. She is living her life freely for the first time in years. I'm 15 at this time, or I don't know if I remember if I'm 14 and a half still or 15. I know this is 97, still early 97. And she just left my dad T after so many years. I think 14 and a half years. And she's trying to find herself. But I'm the oldest, and she is providing for us and everything. But she wants to have her fun. She wants to live for her. She wants to be a woman, not just a mom. She just got out of being como quien dice wife, even though they weren't legally married. So now she wants to go out and party. And my aunts that are there, my tias, some of my tias, they were her cousins. And they're my tias, but, they were my tias. They're going to these parties, to these clubs, and she's drinking and everything. And I'm upset because I gotta stay home with my brothers and sisters. And I don't want to do that because I'm 14 and a half, 15 years old. I want to go out there and party. So, and I'm a teenager. I want to go do that, which I know is not cool either. But, so now we have these issues. I start getting my attitude. I start disrespecting my mom. Me and my mom get into it. We just don't have fist fights. We throw radio and TV at each other. In my room, we used to have this liquor store in Maywood, the Chinos, and they used to sell beers to kids, to 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12 years old. So that's where we used to go get our 40s. And, after we drank them in my room, I would put them up on my dresser. And, my mom used to get mad about that and stuff because I got empty bottles there and this and that. So for little things, we just started arguing and fighting because I started getting frustrated my brothers and sisters have nothing to do with this. It's nothing wrong with them. It's just that I was young and dumb and wanted to go and have fun. I didn't want to stay home and babysit. And so, what I started doing, me and my cousin, we would put my brothers and sisters to sleep, and then we would call our peeps to come over and whatnot. And sometimes our brothers and sisters weren't even sleeping. They would catch us. So that's what I would do. I would just, if I have to watch them, I would just have my little kickback at the house. I remember a time that we bought beer, and I put my brothers and sisters to sleep supposedly. And we had some people over. And I remember my mom came home and we started hiding the peoples. And then all of a sudden, my mom catches me and I don't know what to say. And the peoples are there. They don't know what to say. And then she jacks our beer and takes off again. I know that's something I shouldn't be saying, but yeah, that's what happened. And we were like, what the fuck just happened? But anyways, things started getting really bad with my mom. I started being bad. At the time, I had said I wasn't homegirls. I didn't have homegirls from the other cities. Actually, I did. I made a mistake. I still had a couple of homegirls that I had from Pico Rivera. Because I was kicking it with them. They were trying to get me into their neighborhood and I had told them no. But, because being from a neighborhood, I've always had this theory that it's just an experience. I don't want it for the rest of my life. That is just an experience you go through, right? And if you commit to that, that's for life. And I didn't want that for life. But I started claiming Rivera. And I remember coming out of Nimitz. I think it was Nimitz. I don't know if it was Bow High or Nimitz. Because after Nimitz, I went to Bow High. I don't remember exactly what, but my mom, I guess they called her that I was ditching too much. And because I used to ditch and go to house parties and kickbacks. And well, my mom blended in, walking out of school, there's some stairs. My mom blended in as a kid, as a teenager. And me and my homegirls are throwing up signs and I think my mom still remembers to this day because she told my husband about it. And I'm throwing up signs, I'm throwing up Rivera, I'm claiming it, whatever. And she fucking catches me. The fuck are you doing? And oh my God, I got in trouble and whatnot. So I was just doing a lot of bad things. And I'm leaving out a lot of stuff. And I'm leaving out a lot, but I also feel like I'm giving too much stuff away. Anyways, at the time as well, me and my cousin get into it. Like I said, we were close like sisters. So by this time, my mom is telling me that she's going to put me in juvenile hall. And because of what's going on, I guess. At the time, my aunt was working or studying to be a counselor. So my grandma, my cousin, and my aunt tell my mom that they can come and talk to me. My cousin also had said that because me and her weren't talking, that I was turning into a chola, that I was going that way. So my mom started getting mad and worried, I guess, too. And that's that my mom didn't know a lot of stuff I was doing. And so my aunt came and talked to me and whatnot. And I think I listened and stuff. And things got a little bit better, but not as much. Me and my mom continue to still have little issues. I continue to have attitude and stuff. But you know, days would go, weeks would go, and everything would be fine. Another memory I have is when I turned 15. When I turned 15, my mom had me a little get together and had me my cake and it was nice. I still have only one picture from that day where I put my face in the cake. And I have my 15th birthday cake there. I remember, I don't know who paid for them, if it was my cousin or my mom, to get my nails done. Now, mind you, I have never been a nail person. To this day, I don't get my nails done because I just don't like them. So I get my nails done for my birthday. My cousin would always get her nails done. I used to love her nails. She used to get these chola nails, especially when they were dark burgundy. Beautiful. And so, and you know, 90s nails were fucking look nice compared to today. Not that I'm hating on them today. It's just today is just fucking too much. Just too fucking much. And what they charge today's price? Hell no. But back then, you used to go to the nail salons with the chinas and get a set for $15.99 or $23.99. I don't think it was any price higher than $23.99. And we used to love it. I used to love going with her. That's one thing. I used to love going with her to get her nails done. But I just was not a nail person. And for my 15th birthday, I did get my nails done. Now, mind you, 3 days later, I was already biting all the left side off of my nails. I go out and I didn't know that in some cities there's curfews. And so we're in Long Beach and we get pulled over. And because there's a curfew for minors. And out of the people we were with, I was the only minor. And so we get tickets. And they had a lady cop, because the lady cops are the ones that have to search you and all that. And then if you're in a gang, they got to take pictures of your tattoos or whatnot. So I didn't have any tattoos or anything or in a gang like that. So they take a picture of you holding your ticket, though. I found out later that they're not supposed to do that because you're a minor. But for me, they took a picture of me holding, with your two hands, you have to hold the ticket. So the lady tells me, oh, your nails, if you want, you could curl up your hand a little bit so your nails don't show because you don't have nails on your left side. And I was like, oh, it's okay. But to me, that's a funny story about my nails. The first and last time. No, not last time. I have got my nails after that, but I'm just not a nail person. I don't like them. They get in my way. They're beautiful on other girls, and don't get me wrong, the nails that everybody has, they're beautiful. I don't hate on other girls that have that. But for me, they're just not for me. So that's a memory I have there. I also have a memory that my mom started doing birthdays. My mom always gave us cake and stuff for our birthdays, no matter what situation she was in. But she had 3 kids' birthday in May. So it was hard, to do stuff like that. So this time she decided to do a big thing in May for the kids. And it was fun. Jumper, we had the big yard. It was fun. We had a lot of fun memories in that house. I think the only bad issues were when me and my mom crashed. But it was nice. Let me tell you a story. So my mom had some homegirls that lived across the street, and then in the back houses. And then in the front house, there used to be these 2 guys. And my cousin, one of the guys went to the school. At the time, I was at Bow High. And, I was at Bow High. My cousins were in another school. And one of the guys was her age and went to the same school. which is, we were in Maywood and that school was in Montebello. And so his younger brother, I went to school with them. But mind you, I had a thing that I wouldn't be with anybody in my school, and I wouldn't be with somebody my age. They had to be older. So that's how I see how I would do things. I think one time I did be with somebody from a school, but that didn't work out. It was only a 2-week thing. And I almost lost a homegirl because of that, but that's for another story. But, so these neighbors across the street, the guys would always talk to us. They were cool with my mom. They were cool. Like their mom was cool, everything, right? And so they're like the neighborhood kids or guys, however you want to put it. The little brother, he was from a party crew that I used to kick it with. I don't know if, I'm not going to say all the names, but we used to go to flyer parties together and stuff. And, so there was some girls down the street, some little Mexican girls, some paisa girls down the street. And, turns out that they used to do brujeria. And, supposedly she was with one of the guys, and they used to get mad and jealous that they would talk to us. Right. So, when the girl would go by, supposedly the guys would tell us that she used to do brujeria on them. They used to find shit in their front yard and all that shit. And so we're like, oh shit, they're gonna do brujeria on us. And, so one day, I don't remember what happened, but it was me, my cousin, and the cousin that I'm talking about is cousin Al, that we and her were like best friends. Well, her sister, she's 2 years older than me and 1 year older than her sister. She's cousin P. And, so she was at the house as well. And so we lived on one corner, and I think they lived on the other corner, or 2 houses before the other corner on the other side. And, I don't know what happened, that we were at their side and we started fighting with them, with the girls. My cousin P was fighting. I don't know if it was the older sister. My cousin Al was fighting the middle sister, and I was fighting the younger sister. And I don't know if all the little kids, my brothers and sisters, they went and yelled for my mom to come. Oh my God. My mom, mind you, I think my mom right now at this time, I'm 15. I want to say my mom is 30 or 32 at this time. My mom comes running down the street. What the fuck? You don't fucking beat on my daughters. And my mom, the lady, the Mexican lady, Luna Senora, comes out, and my mom starts bombing on her, and we're all fucking fighting in the fucking middle of the street. And then some other fucking guy comes in the middle. He goes, why are you guys fighting in my neighborhood? And he's not a cholo. He's just a regular dude. He comes out. He's probably like late 30s, early 40s. And he says, don't be fucking fighting on my street or my neighborhood. My mom said, fuck your neighborhood. And oh my God, I don't know. In the end, we all just separated. But that was a fucking funny story. I mean, it doesn't sound funny right now, but at the time it was funny. Because my mom was just screaming, you don't fucking hit my daughters. You want to fucking fight somebody, fight me. And the senora wasn't even fighting, but my mom got her. And, but we were fucking bombing on it. I will say, they gotta admit, we fucked them up. I don't remember if the girls ever walked down on the side where we lived anymore, and they would just go around. I think that's how it was. But they didn't fucking do brujeria on us or anything. But yeah, at this time too, I would still go stay with my grandma. And, my grandma was living in, Bell. And, my uncle lived on the next block from hers. So when I would go to his house, I would either go to my grandma's, go to his house, or when I was at my grandma's, go to his. And I would help him babysit his son. So yeah, so I used to spend my time at home. I used to spend my time at my grandma's. I used to spend time at my uncle's house. And with my uncle, he is my mom's cousin, which for me would have been like a second cousin, but I consider him like a tío, and his siblings as well as tías and tíos. We were close to them as well. My grandma, my mom's mom, my grandma C, she had a sister, and her sister, my aunt, her kids and her grandkids, we all grew up with each other. And that's basically our family. Later on, I found out my grandma has other siblings and whatnot, but we weren't close with them. I think her brothers, one of her brothers and his wife, I think I got close to them later on in life, but we didn't really, at least for me, I didn't know they had other siblings, but we really just grew up around that. It was my grandma and her sister, their kids and their grandkids, and we all grew up together. So the uncle I'm talking about, it's called Tío H, Uncle H. And I was really close with him. When I was born, I want to say he was about 14, 15, because I'm not too sure if him and my mom are like 3 years apart or 5 years apart. I'm not too sure. So he was around like, say 13, 14, 15, 16. I don't know. So one time he put me on the couch in my car seat. And this is not because I remember. I've been told this story by him, by my mom, by a lot of family members. And a couple months after I was born with seizures. I'm going to talk about the seizures on a different episode. But I had seizures all the way up until I was 15. No, I'm lying. To like I was 13, I think. Now, he had put me on the couch, on the car seat, and I guess I fell or he dropped me. I don't remember, and I had a seizure. And he panicked. He got scared. They say he turned a different color. He thought I had died. And ever since then, I don't know if it was from there, but we grew a bond when I became a teenager. He's always been really close. He was always close to my mom. And because that's her first cousin, you know. So they were very close, and he, sometimes lived with us, and then he got married and had kids, and they also lived with us at one point, and I was cool with them all the way for many years. We had a falling out later on, which I'll get into, but so most of the time he lived around the cities we lived in. And where my grandma lived, he always lived like a block away or whatnot. And so I would always go to their houses. And then my aunt, his mom, which is my grandma's sister, lived with him as well too. And that's when she introduced me to Vicente Fernandez, a lot of Los Tucanes de Tijuana. She gave me my first tape of Los Tucanes, which that album has a song in there that I loved and fell in love with. Even though at that time I didn't know a lot of Spanish, but I knew I would dedicate that to the love of my life, which turned out to be my husband. Just talking about Spanish, remind you that I'm Mexican American. I'm Chicana. I'll go into more details of where all my family's from, but my dad was born in Mexico. My mom's born here, but we grew up in the Mexican American style way, not American style, but Mexican American. We didn't speak Spanish. My grandma's household, my grandma's not a Mexican abuelita either. But she was always married to Mexican men. So that's where I learned my Spanish. And then in the neighborhoods that we kicked it with, their parents watched novelas and they watched novelas. So I started watching novelas and I learned all the bad words first. But, I think my first novela I ever watched was Dos Mujeres y un Camino. And so, yeah, that's where I started learning Spanish. I learned it more from my grandma. And then when I got with my husband, I didn't know a lot of Spanish, but his family is all Mexicanos, all Mexican. So his mom didn't know English. She understood it. But with watching novelas with her, I learned Spanish like that. So that's where the Spanish comes in. But when I used to go to my uncle's house when his mom lived with him, she would be in her room and or getting ready to go to the bailes with her homegirls. I remember she used to have a homegirl. We went to her house at one point, and watching them get ready and everything was like watching my mom back in the 80s, 90s, getting ready with her homegirls with putting their pachuca makeup on and whatnot. But my aunt, they were getting, ready to go to the bailes, and they're getting ready, doing their hair and makeup and their skirts and high heels. And it was just a fun thing. My aunt would put on her music and get drunk, and we would drink Budweisers with her and singing Vicente Fernandez and all that. So then she also lived in another house with one of her husbands at one point, and I'm not going to say his real name, but my uncle, which was her son, the uncle I was close with, he used to, we used to make fun of him that was his papi. And, because it was like his stepdad. And, so I used to love going to her house because when I used to live with my grandma when I was a kid, I didn't mention that because I want to say that in a story that I talk about my grandma. But when I was 9 years old, I actually lived with my grandma and one of her husbands. And my aunt, which is my grandma's sister, used to babysit me in the morning when my grandma went to work. And so I learned a lot of Spanish there too with her and her husband when she used to babysit me. But yeah, going back to the uncle, we were close. I knew a lot of his secrets. I know a lot of his ex-wife's secrets. I used to help them babysit their kids. I was close to their kids at one point too. We used to eat from the same plate, drink from the same straw. He used to go and take me to buy chili fries. Chili cheese fries is where I got that from him. Eating chili cheese fries and your soda. And when we moved, I'm not trying to get ahead here, but after Maywood, we moved to Bell Gardens. And then later on, he actually moves to Bell Gardens downstairs. And he used to get high and he used to bake us cookies. He used to call me and my cousin to go downstairs and get cookies. And the only thing bad I did to him when I was a teenager is I would jack his weed. He used to buy his weed and I used to jack him and he used to blame his homies. And but that's the only thing I did to him. But we were close. But when he moved there downstairs, my mom, I think I'm fast forwarding too much, but he started seeing that I was with guys. I guess he didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to see it. So after he seen that with his own eyes, we were still close, but it took something away. I guess the innocent that he thought I was, that took it away. He didn't want to eat from my same plate or same fork or drink from the same straw anymore. He would buy me my own plate of chili fries, my own drink now. We were close still, even until I got married. Even after married, he was cool with my husband, everything. The only thing is that after I got married, we were very close still. Him and his ex-wife was having problems at the time, but they were still together. And he would come to my house, everything. He was smart on a lot of things, but he also knew how to burn people. You know, chingar la gente. And so I've always had this thing. When I got married with my husband, I told my husbands and my siblings, whatever deal you guys make, that is your pedo. You don't get me involved. I told my brothers, if you make a deal with my husband, that's your pedo. Don't come back to me and say anything. The same thing I told my husband. You make a deal with my brothers, that's your thing. You guys borrow money, that's your thing. Don't come to me. When it came to my deal, H, I told my husband, my brother-in-law, my neighbor, who he was and what he does. He's going to burn you. But if you do a deal with him, that's your pedo. Don't come back to me chingando que he burned me, that was your primo, and so. No. And sure enough, he burned them. They couldn't come back and tell me nothing because they already knew, you know. So he started doing that more often, which I really didn't like no more, because I felt like, if we're cool, why do you keep burning me? You know what I mean? Like, I thought we were cool like that. There's no need for you to burn me if we're cool. We're supposed to be cool. So then later on, he moves far. So when we got to see each other, we got to see each other. But now that they moved far, the closeness wasn't as much. But when he came to next to where I live, he would come to my house with my husband and kick it for a while, whatever. And two of my younger brothers got close to him. One got really close to him more than the other. So we have two versions of him. I have one version, a part of his life, one thing, and my other brother has a portion of a chapter in his life. You know what I mean? We know two different people. It's one person, but basically we know two different people. Because when my brother knew him, my Uncle H was a different person. So down the line, while the years go down, he gets, his life kind of gets bad. And it's not my story to say, but I know nobody is to blame, because you decide to do the choices of your life choices are your life choices, and you chose to do that. No one put a thing to your head to make you do it. But there are people that can influence you to doing stuff. And I do blame two people that got him mixed in the wrong thing and stuff. And the reason why I blame them is because they used to do that to people on purpose, not to just be a bad influence or just somebody to do the stuff with. They actually would say they would do it. They didn't tell me about him, but they would say that they would do it on purpose to people to get them hooked. And so by this time, my tío is hooked. And then him and my aunt have problems, and they leave each other. And they leave each other for good. And their kids are teenagers, and they have their issues, and they have their own issues in life, right? I'm not going to get into that. But he gets so hooked that he meets somebody that even makes it worser, and then has a bunch of other kids after. And now he comes around and he's trying to burn me. He's trying to steal from me in my own house, in front of my own eyes. And I didn't like that. And so what I needed to do was to separate myself. And the relationship just was over. So yeah, I just had to cut him loose. It hurted me for a long time because we were so close. And then later on, I have a thing where my hurt turns into anger. And when I cut people off, I don't care. I will never forget the good times, the good memories. But when I cut people off, I cut them off, and I could care less about them. And that's how I am with a lot of people. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to talk about this on another episode. But recently, like a year or 2 years ago, I had another uncle of mine ask me that he noticed that I'm not close to him or them. And that why, that, that he remembers we were very close. And I told him, because I can't be close with somebody like that anymore. When you try to help somebody and all they do is burn you, when you try to help somebody and they just want to use and abuse you, no. And I don't want that in my life. And so, yeah, I don't even know how I got to this story with my uncle, but going back to the end, I think this is where it was supposed to go. In the end of 97, like around a couple months before the end of 97, him and his family move in with us. And then from there, we had to move. I don't remember what he did, but my mom had to move from there. I think I'm going to ask her. I forgot to ask her. But so from there, we end up moving. We got Thanksgiving. Let's go there. Thanksgiving. Okay, so for Thanksgiving, my grandma had this big thing for Thanksgiving. My grandma C, my mom's mom. Mind you, my grandma C was a hard-working woman. She worked 2 to 3 jobs. She wasn't your typical grandma, abuelita en la cocina y cocinando. I have seen family members that have posted on Facebook poses that says, oh, you remember grandma's cooking, you wish you can get that back. Grandma's cooking when grandma used to cook for you, this and that. And that's a lie, because my grandma was not that grandma. And the same grandma that I had is the same grandma they all had. My grandma was a hardworking woman. Like I said, worked 2, 3 jobs, but she was not that abuelita en la cocina. There's only a little handful of times that I see my grandma cook. So this Thanksgiving was a big thing because my grandma really never cooked like that. And so this was 97. She has this big feast in her house with everybody. And my grandma was the foundation of our family. Even though when she didn't have big feasts of cook, she still had everybody go to the house. She didn't give a shit if you weren't talking to so-and-so. Get your ass here and you're going to be here, and that's it. And for that Thanksgiving, that's how it was. And so I remember my uncle and my aunt, the one I was talking about, my uncle age, they didn't want to go there. No, actually, no, they were not invited because technically it was only for my grandma, her kids, and her grandkids and their spouses, right? It wasn't my auntie's family. And so they didn't go. They were going to go. They had the house to themselves. They could have made Thanksgiving there. No, they decided they were going to go to HP and go shopping. I made an excuse to go home for a different reason, and out of respect of my husband, I'm not going to get into that. But when I get there, they're there making pancakes. They're there throwing shoes across the wall of what they just bought in HP because they got into it. Because one was expecting turkey, the other one decided to make pancakes. And so I don't even know why I even said this, but I'm giving too much information away. But anyways, that was our last big thing there. The Thanksgiving passes. December 1st, we move. My mom gets an apartment in Bell Gardens. She gets a apartment in Bell Gardens, which on this side of the driveway is all apartments, and this side of the driveway is little duplexes of houses. So we get the apartment upstairs. And we didn't know how bad that area was. I'm going to say the name. The name was Gotham Street in Bell Gardens. And if you know Gotham Street, you know that was a bad motherfucking street. Now, out of all the neighborhoods we lived in, that one was one of the ghettoest, gangster street we lived on. So we lived there. And, you know, we grow up, you kick it with all the neighborhood kids and whatnot. And I met a good homegirl there. There was this family. They lived downstairs. Their grandma lived upstairs. And one of the girls, she was from the Brats. And I loved kicking with her. She was a cool fucking female homegirl. To this day, I still talk to her here and there through social media on Facebook and whatnot, but we're not as close like that anymore. But she was cool. She always had my back all the time, everything. Her and her homegirls were cool. And so on that street, now I'm going to go into, okay, so when we were in Maywood, I was at Nimitz, right, in junior high. Well, from 8th grade, you graduate to high school. Well, I didn't get to graduate because my grades weren't good and I was ditching too much. And I had too much bad credits that they didn't let me do the promotion. It's considered you just walk to the 9th grade. So that's what I did. I went to Bell High. Now, when I was at Bell High, when we were living in Maywood, I was doing bad there. I started ditching. I didn't like Bell High. I have good memories there, but I didn't like it because it was a strict high school. The only reason why I like it is because I had a lot of homegirls there, a lot of friends. Now, I'm a type of girl that's not jealous. Now, I am jealous, but my jealousy is different from your guys's. Now, I am not jealous of any girls, of any people, or of what you got. If you got a new car, kudos to you. If you got a promotion and you got a house, I'm happy for you. Feed me. But I don't care that you got the new Tupperware. I don't care for that. I'm not jealous of that. And if you look beautiful, I'm going to tell you, you look beautiful. I'm not jealous of that. You got a big ass, a big boobs, and that's okay. I don't have that. I'm not hating on you about that. Now, we all talk about everybody. We all cheese me out and talk about everything. That's just part of being a human. So we do talk about, hey, did you see what she's wearing and what he's doing? Look at the way he looks or whatever. We all do that. So don't fucking act like you don't. But I'm not that jealous. Now, the jealous that I am is when it comes to my man. I'm very, if it's territorial, if that's the word, I'm very jealous when it comes to my man. That's the jealous I am, not of women or friends. Now, so in my whole life, I was able to have groups of friends from here, there, and everywhere. I was able to be cool with her and him and him. Now, I have had friends and even family members, like a cousin, that were the type that if I kicked it with you, I could only kick it with you. And if you didn't like that friend, you couldn't be friends with her. Or if I wasn't hanging out with, you weren't hanging around with us, we couldn't hang around with that girl. No, I am not that type, but I know people, to this day, I know people like that. But like in Bell High, I had friends that were the stoner friends, the rocker friends, the gay friends, the Jamaican friends, the cholo friends, the rebel friends, the party crew friends, all that. I was able to have all that. And like I told you, in Bell High, I did have my cholo group of friends I used to kick it with, but they weren't the same cholo friends that I had from outside of school. And, or the people I was with, because like I said, in school, I didn't want to be with people my age. And so, at Bell High, they were strict. You couldn't wear, your pants couldn't be cutoffs on the bottom. They couldn't be baggy. You couldn't wear spaghetti strap blouses. You couldn't look like a cholo. You couldn't wear white shirts. You couldn't do that. It was more strict on the cholo vibe than all the other genres that were there. So it was very strict and I didn't like it. And the good thing I was only there a couple months because we ended up moving. So we moved to Bell Gardens. Now I'm going into Bell Gardens High School. And what I love about this high school is that, no, only high school. This is the only high school I went to and my daughter went to. My husband, time he got in high school, he already had moved out of Bell Gardens. And my parents didn't go to Bell Gardens High. But I knew I met a lot of homegirls, a lot of people that, went to Bell Gardens High School. And actually, my dad, G, I do have a parent that went there. My dad, G, went to that high school. I found out later that my brother-in-law and my dad, G, were in same classes together at one point. Because my brother-in-laws went to Bell Gardens High School. Just my husband didn't. And then later on in life, my daughter goes to she does half of her freshman year in Bell Gardens High School before we had to move. And so now I'm in Bell Gardens. I'm doing my thing. Now, mind you, I forgot to mention that when I was in Maywood, I met some homegirls. And these homegirls were from East LA, East Los. And I already mentioned all the cities I grew up with. So if I was going to be from a neighborhood, it would have been from the cities I lived in, right? Or my dad T's neighborhood. No. I ended up meeting some homegirls from East Los. I was partying one day at a kickback. So yeah, I met them at this kickback and we just started kicking it. And like I told you before, I used to hide everything I used to do. So my cousin didn't know, my mom didn't know. When I had the time, and I would tell them I would go here, there, and I would go with these girls and party and kick it. A lot of times what I used to do, which I'm not disrespecting my husband because I already told him this too, but what I would do is, because my mom was more okay with me going with, not that she was okay, but she let me go out with these guys, right? They would come pick me up and meet her, and I was able to go with them. So what I would do, some of them, I would tell them, hey, pretend you're going to come and pick me up. We're going to go hang out. But really, I'm going to go with my girls. Okay, cool. Or sometimes I would pick a fight on purpose with them so they can drop me off at my homegirls, or I would have my homegirls pick me up. Now, mind you, we didn't have phones. We used to use payphones. When I lived in Maywood, we had a phone for a little bit before it was pure payphone. And then when we moved to Bell Gardens, we had a phone. Yeah, at Bell Gardens, I did have a phone. But then later on, I started using the payphone. So what I would do is that's how I used to do it. Plus, because I'm always in Bell Gardens or Maywood. I wasn't close to East LA. So that's what I would do, just to try to kick it with them. And then I would call my mom and be like, hey, their car broke down. I don't have a ride. Can I spend the night? And that's how I used to do it. And then when I used to ditch from school, I would have my homegirls pick me up, and then we would go to East Los and go to a party out there. So I was doing that for a while when I was in Maywood, and then when we moved to Bell Gardens, I was doing that. On the street that we lived on, there was this one girl. Supposedly she's from the same neighborhood as my dad T, but she was my age. And I don't know if from the same clique or not, because I never mentioned that to him, because that's another thing. When I was in school and stuff, I never told anybody that who my dad was, or I didn't brag about it. Also, I forgot to mention that when my mom left my dad T, in the times that we were in, after we moved to Maywood and stuff, I kept in contact with him for a while. The first couple months he went to prison, no, but then he would send letters to my grandma's house because he had her address, and I started writing him, and then it stopped. I think he got out. I don't know if he had got out or what, but then it stopped. And then later on, I'll have communication with him again. And I don't think with my siblings. I think it was just with me, because I'll get back to that later. But so this girl supposedly is from this neighborhood. She goes to my school. Now, when I'm in Bell High, when I'm in Bell Gardens High, I have different group of friends as well. And I kicked it with the pretty girls, and then I kicked it with my other cool homegirls, and and then you got the guys you kick it with and whatnot. And so then, and what I loved about that school is that it wasn't as strict as Bell High. I felt like more freer. I can wear what I want. The only thing I didn't like is that my mom's second child ended up going to a freshman, and went there. And now he is trying to be behind me like the older sister, which is, I know it's cool, but as an older sister and as a teenager, you're doing your own thing. You don't want your people behind you following you and seeing what you're doing. And then I was like, damn, he's going to be going snitching and telling my mom what I'm doing. So what we would do is things that he would do, I wouldn't tell her. So he wouldn't snitch on me. And that's how we played the game for a while, because then I would hook him up with my homegirl's sister or whatnot like that, for he won't snitch on me. Because now I have somebody seeing what I'm doing when I'm trying to do things in the hiding, So then, while the girl that's on that block, she already had a sneak face, like a snake face, like she thought she was the shit on the block. And mind you, there's a couple neighborhoods on that block where we live, but everybody's cool with each other. So what? Because there was some drive-bys sometimes too. But so at school, she was hanging out with this girl that was from another neighborhood, but from LA. And they were my age too. And one day I end up, for a while, they're already passing, bumping into me already like that. And at this time, I'm claiming, after in Maywood, I told you guys that I was claiming Rivera 13, because I was kicking it with those girls and they were trying to get me in. But then I met the girls from East Los, and I started kicking it with them, and I didn't kick it with the other girls no more. And I was really into this thing because, I don't know, I was just into the East Los thing. So I started claiming it. I started tagging it everywhere on my folders, everything. My whole folder had it, everything. And so at school, of course, I was claiming it. I started hitting it up, claiming it. And so they started bumping into me. And they started shit here and there and fucking provoking me. And I would let it slide. Because, we got that rule that the first one that punches is the fucking ranker, right? So you got to let them punch you first. So, I was just waiting. And, one day, they fucking went up to me. Shit got popping off and we started fighting. And they started claiming their neighborhoods. One's claiming one from Cudahy. The other one's claiming a neighborhood from, EP over there in LA. There's a movie about them, about that thing. I'm not going to say it here. But, so yeah, we got into it and there was this principal. His name was Mr. Pachuzzi, this big dude. And, they put us in the office, whatever. They fucking kicked me out of the school. I got fucking expelled. Well, I don't think I got expelled. I'm not too sure. But I got kicked out. That was the word they used. They kicked me out because they said for one, I think, mind you, by this time, we had moved to, I started maybe the end of December, January, February. This was February. So I was only in Bell Gardens High for November, December. I don't know. I think 3 to 4 months I was in that school. And in that 3-4 months, I did a lot. But, they fucking kicked me out and didn't kick their fucking asses out. And so my mom kicks my ass. My mom's getting mad. She's talking shit, this and that. And at the time, my 2 cousins were going to a school in Montebello called Vale High. It was a continuation, Vale High continuation school in Montebello. And so they told my aunt told my mom about it. And I'm telling my cousin, yeah, tell my mom to let me go. And my mom didn't want me to go because because it's a continuation. So we kind of played it off that it wasn't. So I convinced my counselor in Bell Gardens High to convince my mom. So they had another meeting with Mr. Pachuzzi and he, because they had to have a meeting with my mom that they were kicking me out. So then my aunt already had talked to my mom, my older cousin had talked to my mom too, that to let me, you know what I mean, to transfer me to Vale High because we needed the transfer. So yeah, we convinced my mom. My mom told them, okay, yeah. So Mr. Pachuzzi gives me the transfer to go to Vale High, which for me was the best gift ever. I don't think I would have ever graduated if I would have stood in a regular high school and the way I was going. Now I'm getting transferred to Vale High, but Vale High is in Montebello. So now I got to take a bus that's you go and get the bus in front of Bell Gardens High. The school bus drives you to Vale High. And then in the afternoon, I got to take the regular bus, the city bus to go home. What was it called? The Metro. No, that's the Metro. The Metro. I don't know. I'm going to call it the Metro bus. No, it's not the fucking Metro bus. I fucking forgot the name of it. But the city bus, the big bus. And so in February, that happens where I get kicked out of there. And let's just go back 3 months prior was Christmas. Maywood was one of the good Christmas, but Bell Gardens, when we moved to Bell Gardens, mind you, my mom had just moved there. I don't know how she made it fucking happen, but she gave us the best Christmas ever. She gave us like 4 gifts each that year in 97, which I wish I still had those things. My mom bought me a bomber jacket. I've always been into Winnie the Pooh, but not just Winnie the Pooh. Tigger. I'm Tigger. I'm Tigger. So I said the wonderful thing about me is I'm the only one. So she bought me a Tigger watch. I don't remember what else, but it was a beautiful Christmas. Okay, now fast forward, I get kicked out. I go to Vail High. This is February 98. Now, the beginning of February, no, the middle of February, I'm not too sure. I get jumped. Me and my cousin were walking, like we used to walk everywhere. And if you guys know Taco Quickie, the one and only, used to be on the corner of Clara and Eastern. And across the street from that was, well, correction, Taco Quickie was at the corner and Quickie Dog was where Taco Quickie was at. And across the street from there's a liquor store and payphones. And so me and my cousin were there at the payphones. And some car came by. Later on, I found out where they were from. At that moment, I didn't remember where they were from. And one of my good homegirls, her homegirl, is from there. So a car came by, I want to say like a little Honda, a Civic. I don't remember exactly. Maybe my cousin remembers. I don't know. And they were we were at the payphones. They were driving, coming down Clara, and they started throwing up their neighborhood. And I don't know if I said fuck their neighborhood or I don't remember what I said, to be honest. They turn into, they make a left and Taco Quickie, and then they bust a U-E and come back. Well, when they come back, there's girls in the car and there's guys in the car. When the girls came, I had to say something because when they got off, they only came after me. So my cousin tried to defend me, but they hold her down. I don't know if it was the guys or a guy and a girl that hold her down, but my cousin's over there screaming and they're holding her from both sides of her body and they're holding her down. And these girls just fucked me up. I think a guy too, they were fucking socking me, everything. Like, I couldn't fucking fight back. Like, at this point, I had got into so many fucking fights already that my cousin never even knew about all the fights I had got into. And I'm not going to say I fucking won all the fights. The only one that I really, really lost when I fucking fought the Samoan. But, cause the Samoan did fuck me up. But most of the fights, it was even or, like that. And I wasn't a type of girl to pull hair. It was like you pull the hair, tie it up and knock them out. But, this night, they just dropped me to the floor. They dropped me to the floor. The guys pinned me down and the girls, they just started fucking me up. And, they're from a neighborhood right there in Bell Garden, some little neighborhood. Well, it is known. At the moment, I didn't remember what they had said, what neighborhood they had said or whatnot. And of course, I'm not a rat. I was not going to snitch or say anything. I played dumb on a lot of stuff to get my revenge later on. They fucked me up so bad that I blacked out. I fucking blacked out. I know the last thing I remember is the guy fucking kicked me across my face. I fucking blacked out. The next thing I remember, we're fucking halfway to my house because, on Clara and Eastern to get to Gotham is not that far, right? And because we lived on Eastern and Gotham. And so when I started waking up, my cousin's dragging, like, she's holding me. I'm walking, but like, I don't even know how I was fucking walking with my 2 feet, but she's like almost dragging me and pulling me to the house. And I don't remember. One of my brothers had told, I don't even know if he remembers, but he had said that he remembers when I went in the house, I was laughing. That was just laughing, like fucking hard laughing. I don't remember. I just remember that we get in the house. I could hear my cousin screaming. I could hear she fucking got, I'm thankful for her because she fucking got me to the house. And when they got there, I guess my mom, I don't remember if they called the ambulance or they had to call the ambulance because we didn't have a fucking car. So I don't even remember. I gotta ask my mom if she remembers, because my mom forgets a lot of stuff too. But I don't know how we got to the hospital. I want to say it was the ambulance. I had, they took me to the hospital. They drugged me up, gave me medicine. They gave me pills to take home too. And, yeah, that was the first time I ever got my ass kicked. I mean, when I fought the Samoan, it was just a regular fight, 1-on-1, but she had the better hand, the better thing, and I just ended up giving up. Okay, fuck it, you won. But she didn't knock me out. She didn't she dropped me to the floor, but other than that, it was just that. This was the fucking first time that I ever got hit by a fucking man, besides my dad, T, but, this was the first time that I fucking got my ass kicked. In all the fights, I remember going and fighting a bunch of girls, and we used to go to, when I was kicking it with the girls from East Los, we used to go to the high schools, to the football games, not to the games, but to go fight the girls under the bleachers and shit like that. We used to go to, we were for Garfield because the girls I kicked it with, it was Garfield, and we were against Roosevelt. And we used to go and start fights on purpose sometimes, but nothing to this extreme. But yeah, that was the first and the last time. But that was really bad. My face, when I got home, my face was fucking and I was skinny. I didn't get fat until after I got pregnant, but I was skinny. My face, I didn't go to school for 2 weeks. For 2 whole weeks, I didn't go to school because my face was so swollen, so fucking bruised. After the bruises, it turns purple. I was really bad. And they did give me some fucking pills that had me fucking wired, hyper all fucking day. But yeah, that happened. Later on, my dad G, at the time he wasn't with my mom, but he lived he grew up there. I mean, he literally grew up right there. Supposedly he found out that it was over a guy, and that is not true. I found out later through my homegirl's homegirl that I dissed their neighborhood, and that's why they retaliated. Plus that neighborhood was known to just fucking pick on people too and start fights. And the guys, because the neighborhoods I kicked it with, guys didn't they had their fucking girls beat up the fucking girls. None of the guys fucking beat up the girls. This was a first seeing this shit, but that neighborhood was known for that, for the guys to fucking beat up the girls, so, it was because I dissed their neighborhood. It was not over a guy. Later on, one of the homegirls that lived there, that I told you that lived there, she told me, I got your back. What do you want to do? And I said, I'm going to keep it low for now. We were able to find out what car it was, who was in the car. She told me the neighborhood they were from. And I told her, okay, I'm ready now. But the night she was supposed to pick me up, because mind you, she lived there, but she took off and went for her homegirls. That night they were supposed to come and pick me up so we can go get revenge. She never picked me up. She handled it on her own. And I thought it was just her. I thought it was her and her homegirls. Turns out it was just her and one homegirl. And they got the girls back. And I think like a month later, she had her cousin, a guy cousin, get one of the guys. They were only able to find out one guy. But I remember I know there was two guys because I don't remember if one guy was holding my cousin, but I know one guy was hitting me because he fucking kicked me. But yeah, that shit fucking happened. That fucking, to this day, that shit hurts that I let that happen. You know what I mean? That I was that stupid to do that. You know, I already had learned the street ways. I already had learned about dissing neighborhoods, and for me to let that happen, I don't blame the drugs. I just think that I was just young and stupid. But that was the first and last time I've never got fucked up like that again, you know, but that was crazy. My fucking face was black and blue, and swollen for fucking almost 2 weeks. And then after that, I get kicked out of school. I get jumped. I go back to school. And me and my mom get into it. We get into it in the worst way ever. My grandma used to buy me my school supplies and my stuff. And when my mom could, she would too, but my grandma used to help her with my stuff. And my whole folder, my whole binder was full of graffiti, East Los, names, all that. And one day I came from school, and I don't know if my mom was having a bad day or what, but she started talking shit about my binder and cholo shit and this and that. And, you know, it was wrong for me to disrespect her, but I disrespect her and told her that, what did she care? She didn't buy it for me. My grandma did. And she said she didn't care. And at the time, we were still having issues about the babysitting thing and her doing her thing and me doing my thing. Even though I should be grateful, because even in Maywood, I had my own room, but it was a bigger house. We moved to this apartment, and it's only a 2-bedroom. And the boys share one room, and she gives me the other room for me, and she sleeps in the living room and with my sister. I mean, my sister shares the closet with me, but she gave me a room, you know. And then we had a phone. I always had the phone with me 24/7 in my room. So I should have been grateful, you know, but, you know, being young like that, you just think about yourself and want to be doing your shit. So she had told me again that she was going to put me because, you know, about the getting kicked out of school and whatnot. She was going to put me in a juvenile hall. And so we got into it really bad. We said things and hurt each other, and she kicked me out. The first time she ever kicked me out. Well, the first and last time too, but she kicked me out. And my Uncle H, the one I was talking about, lived downstairs. So I run down to his house. Excuse me. I run down to his house to call my grandma. And my mom already had called my grandma to not help me, to not take me in. And my grandma was not going to do that. She took me in. And my aunt, like I told you, she was like a counselor or whatnot, working in counseling. And when we got to my grandma's house, I asked my grandma if I could stay with her. Of course, she said yes. And my aunt told me that I can write her a letter. If we can't communicate, we can't talk to each other, and we're just fighting, to write her a letter of how I feel and what should be done. And I did that. I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter telling her how I felt and telling her, not giving her orders, just telling her, I think it's fair. 1 weekend you, 1 weekend me. Like, you have your fun 1 weekend, and then I have my fun 1 weekend, and I babysit the kids like that. 1 weekend or 2 weeks. There's 4 weekends out of the week, 2 and 2. You know, because mind you, by this time I'm 15, 16. I want to say I'm 15 going into 16. And, no, I don't even think I'm 16 yet. No, I'm still 15. So yeah, I'm 15. And so, and I'm grateful for everything my mom has done and had did at that moment too, everything, you know? And, but I had, so that's what I had said. There's like 4 weekends in the month, this and that. And, my grandma gave it to her. And no, it just made it worse. My mom called me and, whoo, it was all bad. She didn't like that I told her and gave her orders, which it wasn't giving her orders. It was just compromise, you know? My mom actually, with my dad T, she was always told what to do. She was always controlled. So when she left him, she felt free, and she was not going to let anybody control her ever again or tell her what to do. And I guess it went also with her kids. And so, and I'm not mad about her. And when I talk about these things, just mind you that me and my mom already got over all this. We've talked about it. We're good. We're in a good place. But this is just part of my story. And so, yeah, it did not help at all. It just made it worse because she felt like I was giving her orders and controlling her and telling her what to do. And she was not going to let that happen and this and that. So, okay. So I ended up living with my grandma. I started living with my grandma for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. No, not 2 years, but 1.5 years I lived with my grandma. And I will say, and I didn't talk to my mom for like 4 months. I want to say it was like 4 months. Oh, it could have been more. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 months. I had no communication with my mom whatsoever. My mom actually didn't come to my grandma's house for those 4 or 5 months as well. I would get to see my brothers and sisters only when my grandma would bring them, go over there and bring them. But I didn't go to their house. And at this time, between those months that I had moved out to, like I told you, one driveway side was apartments, the other one was duplexes. Now she had moved from the apartment upstairs to the duplex downstairs, which had more room for the kids. And she already had met my dad G, and they were already like boyfriend and girlfriend doing their thing. And actually, no, I'm lying. They didn't meet till almost fall of 98. But yeah, they were already like flirting and whatnot. And so after that, we started talking. I don't remember how we started talking, but something happened too also in that timing. Something happened with one of my siblings, which I'm not going to get into detail, and it changed our family. It changed us, but it didn't change, like it changed that person. That person's life, for their decision, was turned upside down. I want to say my sibling is now in their 30s, and I can say that they're finally getting on track. They're finally feeling what life is about, what life is, how precious life is. And it hurts me because sometimes as kids we do stupid things that the consequences can fuck up our life. And as parents, we also make decisions for the best of everybody else, or at that moment, without knowing what the consequences are going to be as well. And the hurt and the pain, because I could only say the hurt and pain I feel is nothing compared to what my sibling had to endure for many years. And it's just sad. And then throughout their life, they decide to make, bad decisions that fucks up their life, But right now, at this moment, I am so fucking proud of that sibling. And I see the happiness. And I see them enjoying life. But anyways, I don't even know how I got to this. Anyways, I think that's when me and my mom started talking. And then I would go over there and help her babysit the kids. And then I would bring my little sister over and take her a bath and have a little slumber party together and all that. She was little. She don't remember. And then we had her little birthday party. Actually, that year she got 2. No, I'm lying. The other one was in another city. At my grandma's house, she had a little backyard downstairs. And we had my sister little barbecue there with the little piñata. And I still have a little small picture of me helping her with the piñata. And for you guys, this might be little stupid things that I talk about. But for me, they have a lot of meaning. A lot of memory for me. And then from there, after I was able to talk to my mom and them, they started coming around and it was just happy. And then living with my grandma, 98 was one of my best years. Why? Porque me convenía. Even though my grandma was strict, I had so much freedom. And we had curfews and we had rules, yes. But I had so much freedom. I had a phone. I could have visits outside. And then sometimes, okay, your visit needs to go or whatnot. But I had a lot of freedom. The time living at my grandma's house, in that house on Randolph Street, Randolph, and 5150 in Bell was one of my best years. The memories I created with my cousins. My cousin moved in as well. My cousin Al, that I was close to like a sister. And then it's me and her for a while. My grandma also lived there. My uncle at the time was living there with his son. And then they moved out. Then my grandma's husband's brothers moved in. And then they pay rent and stuff. But as a child, as a teenager, you're not realizing the freedom you have living free. You know what I mean? Because we were living free. We were just like with our parents, with my mom, we were living free. We had everything. And you don't realize that. And with my grandma, I was able to be a little bit more open with my grandma. My grandma was more lovable. I was able to hug her. Because mind you, and I don't blame my mom. I don't blame my grandma. I don't blame my dad T. They were raised in that generation. And I keep going back to that I know it's wrong that that's how life was, but that's just the way life was. I can't change it. You can't change it. Whatever. And maybe it was just my area. Maybe it wasn't even your area. Maybe your parents showed you love and hugged you and kissed you and everything. But in our family, no. My dad T The only times I heard him say, I love you, is in his letters, in his cards. And when I went to see him in the hospital before he passed. Other than that, he didn't tell us. At least that I remembered. I don't know about my siblings. You know what I mean? I know he used to call my sister because that was his daughter. And that was the last one. I was his daughter too. But he used to call her like little love names when she was a baby. Just because I think she was the baby. She was the last one. And it was his first girl. Even though I was his first girl, for him, that was his first girl blood. You know what I mean? But I don't remember any times. Maybe probably once when we went to go see him in jail. But all his letters say love in there. And his cards that he would send for Mother's Day or for birthdays or whatnot. And then when I seen him in the hospital before he passed, I could count it on one hand. My mom, tampoco, until I was older. I want to say after married, to be honest. My mom was just not that affectionate either. You know, even though I can say me and my mom have been through a lot more than my siblings, we have never, until now, we talk about it. Now we talk about it as older and adults. But when things happen, my mom didn't talk about like, okay, thank you for getting the kids. Or this, that. We never talked about it. I never asked her, how you're doing, Mom? Even though I sat there and watched her and admired how strong she was, I never asked her either. How you feeling, Mom? How you doing? Never, tampoco. So I never got that. The love like that. My grandma either. My grandma did, and the hugs either. My mom and them were not huggies. None of that. Maybe when we were little and babies, but as I remember, no. My grandma wasn't like that with her kids either. My grandma was a little different with her grandkids than she was with her own kids. Because with her own kids as well, she was very dry, she wasn't lovable like that. She worked and did her thing as a woman. That's not my story to tell, but, you know, my grandma was a good mom too, but, you know, she had her defects as well. Now that she passed, a lot of people want to paint her as this wonderful mom or grandma. And she was, don't get me wrong. But I don't forget who my grandma really was. You know what I mean? Just because a person passes, you don't forget everything. You remember that person from everything. And sometimes when somebody passes, you hold on to that and you want to have that good image of that person. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just me. That's my opinion. And this is not to offend anybody. Now, my grandma was a little bit more affectionate. She would give me hugs, but I know, and I did see her give her kids hugs when they were adults, when they would come over or whatnot, or hug them before they would leave or whatnot. But I know as when they were young, but you know what, like I was saying, but my grandma did hug us a little bit, you know, at least me, hugged me a little bit more than my mom, you know. I don't remember a whole handful of I love yous. But we did spend time together, go get a burger together, go get pan dulce together, go drive here and there, the rides to school. Like, there's a lot of memories I have from my grandma as well as my mom. But they're just two different people. When I was 9 years old, when I was like 8, 9, like I said, my grandma has always said that she felt obligated that she had to help my mom with me. Cause I think she thought that my dad, T, was not going to treat me as a daughter because I wasn't his, but no, he did. I don't think they really seen that. but my grandma said that she always just felt like she wanted to do it because how she treated my mom. So when I was 8 or 9, my grandma was living in Cudahy. And I don't know for what reason I went to move with my grandma. I don't know if my mom thought it was best or if I wanted to move over there. So I would go with her for all the vacations. And I ended up moving with her for about a year and a half. 91, I want to say in 91. I also think I moved with her because at the time, yeah, I don't remember. But the thing is, I lived with her for about a year, I want to say. When I lived with her, us imaginary kids, I could close my eyes and picture this. I used to get like little blankets or sweaters and make them look like a baby. And I used to get my grandma's baskets. She had like these baskets like Easter baskets, but the other kind, the thicker kind. And I used to pretend they were cars. And I would set the sweaters that I would make as babies in the basket and then get my grandma's keys. Or, the babies used to have those fake keys. Get those and pretend I was driving the baby without. But I remember one day, I don't know what it was, that I started crying. I don't know if I wanted to go home back to my mom. I don't remember. But my grandma was evil too. My grandma was a badass too, but she was evil at some times. And that's something people don't want to admit. But when I was 9 at this time. No, 9. I think I don't remember if I was 9, but, or 8. I don't remember. I think I was 8 because I remember having my 9th birthday in Bell Gardens in 94. That can be 92. I think 91 or 92. I can't remember. But, the whole point is that I didn't stop crying and my grandma got me by my neck. And you guys may think this is wrong, but hey, ya pasó, okay? She grabbed me by my neck, pulled me up to the wall, and said, "Stop your fucking crying, or I'll give you something to cry about." And she put me down, and I remember calling my mom and saying I wanted to go back. No, I think my mom had a baby shower. My mom's Nina gave her a baby shower at my grandma's house right there in Cudahy. And that's when I told my mom because she was pregnant with my brother at the time. And I told her I wanted to go back home with her from what my mom did. I know they got in an argument because of it. And I ended up moving back with my mom. But that's one memory I have of my grandma that I'll never, ever forget. And I thought I told my husband that. And the other day, me and my mom were talking about it. And my husband was like, "Wait, you never told me that?" And my mom was like, "You never told him?" I was like, "No, I thought I did, but no." But yeah, that was the first and last time. My grandma never did that to me again. But living at her house, so much good memories. The missions me and my cousin used to do. I mean, I remember going to the corner store and getting my bag of hot Cheetos and my Arizona drink or my Sprite. And then my grandma started having, my grandma in her house, she was in control. She didn't let no man control her. She was always in control. At least what she presented to us or what we could see. And then my grandma had her comadre move in with her homegirl. And we became a 4-team there, which was cool because we started hanging out and partying. And then I would go with them on my own cruising and partying. And then my grandma's comadre got a house in Maywood, and her house was known as the party house. And I mean, so many memories. I'm not going to even get into that. But my grandma started having problems with her husband and his brothers because the brothers are paying rent. They have their room. They're paying rent. They go to work. They're paying, rent for the bills. They give my grandma money for the groceries, whatnot. And, her grandkids are there in and out, because not just us that were living there, my grandma's kids, everybody went in the house, like in and out. It was grandma's house. It was mom's house. And her husband was cool. A lot of people didn't like him. Some did, some didn't, but he was cool. He had his moments where he could be an asshole. But for the most part, he was cool all the time, at least for me. And living in a house, half woman, half men, I want to say, thank God nothing ever happened. We didn't have that kind of mentality either. No one told us, cover up, do that, don't wear those boxers, don't wear those shirts. We used to walk around with boxers, of course, with our underwear under and our t-shirts. But we didn't have that mentality. It's just like we didn't have that in our family. We never had in our family, thank God, we didn't have those experience of any of the girls or maybe even boys getting M or getting R. We didn't experience that. So we never needed to tell the little girls, tapate, or cuidado because there's men living here, or this and that. Never. And I will say, in all the places I've been, even my dad's homeboys, everybody, no one never disrespected us. I never felt uncomfortable with anybody, nothing. No one made me, at least for me, made me feel uncomfortable. Now, my grandma's husband at the time did kind of, and this is, everybody knows this, or mostly everybody knows this, kind of had a little, I think he kind of liked it, my grandma's comadre. And one time we caught him looking at her clothes. And, my grandma had to check him. That's about it. But even then, we didn't even think nothing of it. We just thought, because at the time, my grandma already had found out. I was with my grandma. And I know this is her story to tell, but I was with my grandma. Back then, you had, for long distance, they had a Motorola phone to call Mexico, because if you called on the line, it was expensive. And he had his family come over every Sunday. So that was one of the rules in her house, is that every Sunday, the living room, because me and my cousin or the comadre, whatever, we all slept in the living room. The living room was basically like ours. But on Sundays, the living room belonged to him and his family. Excuse me. They would go to the swap meets and then come back and kick it in the living room and watch the Bulls on TV, whatnot, on Channel 22. And so we would go in the kitchen or in my grandma's room and kick it, or we would go hang out or go with our moms on those days or whatnot. And so with the Motorola phone, they used to have it for long distance for Mexico, because his family was from Mexico. And I was with my grandma when she found out that he had, another mujer over there in Mexico. And, she still stood with him and whatnot. That's her life, her story. And this ain't talking bad or anything, but this is just memories I have. And so he started getting bothered, I think, because we started catching him and we were telling my grandma things, and my grandma would check him. So, and I think because he knew we knew about stuff, so he started being like a little ass and started complaining about the phone, that the bills were too high, the phone bill was too high, that we're always on the phone 24/7. And then when people would call us, like guys, he would tell them, no, she went off with her other boyfriend and stuff like that. Or he would tell them that we weren't there when we were there. Then his brother started having issues that, her grandkids or kids came and estaban comiendo la comida. So then my grandma had to make a thing that our food was on one side of the refrigerator and like that. And that was the first time we, at the time we didn't even see it wrong. We were like, okay, that's whatever. At the time, because we didn't even eat a lot, to be honest, cereal and a cup of soup or whatnot. and hot Cheetos and an Arizona drink. We didn't eat like that. The way I eat today, woo, I didn't eat like that before. And so then my grandma said that we had to start, our mom, actually, she didn't tell us. She told our moms that they had to help us give money for food. So my mom was getting food stamps for me, even though I was living with my grandma. And so I would, my mom started giving me food stamps out of there so I can buy my groceries for the week. And then my aunt would give my cousin money to buy groceries, or my aunt used to go and buy us groceries for both of us and put in the refrigerator for us. And it went like that for a while. My other cousin ended up moving in too for a while. I don't remember if it was with her boyfriend or just with her. And then, so at one point there was a lot of people living there. And then in the end, it just ended up being me and my cousin. Everybody else moved out. And then, my grandma's husband's brother still lived there. And then all of a sudden, like I told you, something happened with one of my siblings and we got social workers involved. So by then, the social workers, even though I didn't live with my mom, I still had to go to counseling. I still had to participate in stuff. So like I told you, we used to go to the counseling and just sit there and lie that we were happy, joyful kids, and just for it to move on. So, they had mentioned, so my mom had, everything through my sibling was through courts, right? So my mom made everything confidential. So he didn't know where she lived, anything throughout those years, because he used to threaten her. And so then, he only knew where my grandma lived. And then, when my sibling was going to court, he had to be involved, right? And he was in prison at the time. He had to be involved. And so, what was the fucking point I was trying to do with this? I got lost. I got sidetracked. Oh no. Okay. So I was talking to him through letters. Like I would still, while he was in prison, he would send me letters and we had communication with my dad T. And so when we went to court, the social worker told my mom that I was not allowed to have contact with him no more. So they wanted to start screening my letters. And they thought that he was writing me not like a father and daughter thing. But then they read my letters and they seen that it was a father and daughter thing, and that he wasn't threatening my mom. He wasn't talking bad about my mom. He wasn't disrespecting me or talking bad. So they said I could have communication if I wanted, but for them, it was better for me to stop the communication because my mom has everything confidential and doesn't want to know where she lives and what. So the reason why I bring that with my dad T, the court, the social workers, all that, is because even though I didn't like it, I still had to participate. And even though I didn't live with my mom, I still had to go and do all that. And they were watching me, and I want to have my fun and doing that. And you got people that are keeping an eye on you, and I didn't like it. And so for that reason, that's why I bring all this up, because fast forward to May of 1999, my grandma uses that opportunity to have me move back with my mom. Now, like I said in a couple minutes ago, my grandma started having some issues with her husband and his, siblings, his brothers. And so my grandma thought it was best that for me and my cousin to move back home. I don't remember the reason why she told my aunt and my cousin moved back. My cousin moved out first, and then like a month, I moved back with my mom. And my grandma and my mom had said it was the social workers. The social workers said I had to be back with my mom and this and that. I found out weeks later that that was all bullshit. It was a lie. It was just my grandma trying to be nice and say for us to move back home without telling us or anybody it was about her husband. Well, she told my mom, and I don't know what she told my aunt and what details she gave her. But so now I'm gonna end this here because May of 1999 becomes a very change and traumatic for me, emotionally, everything. I will go into details. I know I skipped through a lot of years. I know I'm not giving everything, but stay tuned for part two. Part two will be May 1999, the drugs, the gang life, and that's right before I met my husband. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoy. Have a Feed Me weekend, a Feed Me week.